and take my dream. Still music keeps on tuning me from the worlds that hurt my soul, removing doubts from my mind. Those long days passing by from the door, like late summer days slowly fade away, finding way through the favorite tune, playing all day with my eyes closed. Those long days passing by from the door, like late summer days slowly fade away, finding way through the favorite tune, filling me with those sounds. Can't get my mind out of those memories. Now time to tell them, don't take my dream. Still music keeps on tuning me from the worlds that hurt my soul, removing doubts from my mind. Those long days passing by from the door, like late summer days slowly fade away, finding way through the favorite tune, playing all day with my eyes closed. Those long days passing by from the door, like late summer days slowly fade away.
Alrighty, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Nostalgia Saved on this wonderful and beautiful Friday in the God blessed United States of America. And we're going to be talking about probably what a lot of people would consider to be one of the most American iconic superheroes in Spider-Man, and probably what people would also say is probably the best superhero video game of all time, and that is Insomniac's Marvel's Spider-Man game, specifically the 2018 release of it. And joining me today is somebody who loves everything cinema related, superhero related, and of course a big fan of this game as well. And that is Mr. Nerd Takes. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, doing well. Thank you for having me. I am excited to talk Spider-Man. I actually really love this game, so ready to go for this one.
Yes, yes, indeed, indeed. I've been a fan of this game. I've bought it so many times. I think, let me see here. I got it on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and PC. So I bought 3 times. That's a lot. So I got the hat trick, but I got the double platinum trophy for this game. I really did enjoy
nice.
it. And I felt at first when I played it on PS4, I was like, this game is pretty good and it's fun. And then when I played it on PS5, I got a new life for it because it wasn't locked at 30 FPS. I was like, ooh, this might actually be, up there with the great superhero games out there. I feel, it's always like a 2-horse race. Sometimes I would say 3-horse, depending on who you talk to, between this, Arkham City, and Arkham Asylum as the best superhero video games of all time. And I was wondering, do you agree with that assessment overall, or do you think there's other games that you could put it up there besides those 3 I just named?
I mean, on the whole, I'd say it's a good 3 to choose. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think those are definitely 3 of my favorite and probably my top 3. I'd probably go Arkham City, this game, and then Arkham Asylum. But I do think in my mind, like there's some that I have a little bit of nostalgia for that were great games too. Like for example, the first one that comes to mind is the Spider-Man 2 game for the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. That one was massive and it was so revolutionary in terms of the web swinging and really kind of changed the way Spider-Man games were played. So that one has a huge place, I think, in Spider-Man game history, but also nostalgia for me because I played the ever-living daylights out of that game over and over again as a kid. 'Cause I was just obsessed with it.
Yeah.
However, it has been a very long. I mean, you're talking at least 20 years since I've played it because I don't have a copy of it for any of my retro consoles,
Mhm.
which I should remedy that and get one ASAP. I just haven't really thought about it in a while. Um, so I would almost want to put that one up there somewhere, maybe in the 4 slot, or if I played it again, get a chance to maybe move it up a little bit higher. But it's just been too long for me to supplant those 3, which I've actually all played recently within the past year or two, as for one of the many replays I've done of them all. So yeah, I mean, I think it's fair, but that's one I would throw in there. I would even say, and somebody might argue this one, but the Spider-Man 2 game for the PS1 should also be somewhere on my Mount Rushmore or in my top 5, as well as the first movie game for Tobey Maguire. A simple level-based game with web swinging that never really made sense because you were just sticking to the sky, but
Yeah.
it's just a lot of fun, and I play the crap out of that game too. So they're all kind of up there for me. It is predominantly kind of Spider-Man games, I think, that do take a lot of the space in the top 5. But again, there's some other great ones too. There's some awesome X-Men games for the PS2 that came out. X-Men Legends, X-Men Apocalypse, those Ravensoft games that were done back then. Marvel Ultimate Alliance, those games. So I mean, there's a lot that you could throw in there, but I would say those 3 kind of take the cake as the best singular solo player experience games.
Yeah, I would also say that some of the other really cool ones that you can kind of list there come from also like Spider-Man Ultimate Spider-Man, I should say. Sorry.
Yes, that's another great. The PS2
That-
one. Yep, that was a fantastic one. Venom, getting to play as him is the first time, and at least the first. Oh, not first time. There's the '90s games and all that, but in terms
yeah.
of like the more modern era gaming, that was the
With
first time you really got to play as Venom in 3D kind of style like that, which was awesome.
And I also love the cell shade art style that they chose for that game as
Yes,
well. It was
absolutely.
really good.
Mhm. I do
Ironically,
actually have a copy of that one. That one I have.
yeah, that one I think is a really great one to add to your backlog. And another one too that I feel like a lot of people want to see back in some way, shape, and form has to be the Punisher game for the original Xbox and PS2 as
Well,
well.
I've always heard great things about it, but that's one that slipped by me. I have not played that one.
Yeah, it's I think it's more well remembered because it kind of played a little bit like I don't know, Max Payne a little bit in terms of its
Mhm.
third-person shooter elements, but it was more well known for just, like, the brutal kills of, like, feeding someone to a great white shark or, throwing somebody into cremation, chamber. It's very, very, brutal, and it kind of
Mhm.
that, like, early video game formula. And, another one that I always recommend for people, if you really love Prototype, you need to check out, Hulk
That's another one. Yeah.
Destruction, yeah.
Have
So,
prototypes of prototype ultimate destruction I haven't played, but prototype is another one that I've always heard great things about, but again, slip by me. I do have to finally play those.
yeah, those ones I recommend picking up, and they're relatively cheap still, so you could
Mhm.
probably
Yeah,
find
get
them
them while
out
you can.
there. Yeah, but, there's so many great games, and we even didn't even talk about the Web of Shadows trilogy,
Yep,
and we haven't even talked about even the pre-90s stuff, the beat 'em ups, even the fighting game mergers, Capcom versus
absolutely.
Marvel, or Marvel versus Capcom,
Injustice. Yep.
Injustice.
Mhm.
You can have, like, a whole, show just dedicated for, like, the best, superhero games, and I
Oh, yeah.
think that'll be a future topic for this show, but right now we're talking about Spider-Man, but before we begin, we got a couple people who joined us earlier. Mr. Shaka Zulu joined us. Fuck my life, 2018 was 8 years ago.
Yeah,
Oh
right,
my
dude.
goodness. I know.
Crazy.
It's absolutely insane to think that we're just 2 years away from 10 years
Mm.
of this game being released, and it feels like yesterday.
I still remember buying a PS4 just to get this game and anticipating the launch, and holy crap, has it been 8 years already? Wow.
Mhm. Yeah, time really does fly, man.
Jeez.
We also got Mr. Nerd Polo saying, "Sup, Adam and Jay."
What up, Red Porio?
And then we got Mr. October Mike joining us, says, "Yo, you guys talking about Spider-Man 2018, such a cool game. The old model of Peter was better." Cough.
I agree. It's actually one of the things I was going to bring up at some point because I bring it up every time when we talk about the remastered version for the PS5. Is I do hate the change in the character model for that, but we'll get to that at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah. So let me actually, that's a good one. I'm gonna bring that up here. So let me see. Here we go. We got the remaster and the comparison photos of Peter Parker, and that we'll talk about that when we get into a little bit more of the brass tacks here. But before we begin, I always like to talk about this as well. So, Spider-Man 2018 released on September 7th, 2018, as we said, exclusively for the PlayStation 4. It later came to the PlayStation 5 in November on the launch day of the PS5, and eventually it was ported to PC on August 12th, 2022, marking it to go around the bend. It was also one of the fastest selling PlayStation games of all time, selling 3.3 million copies within the first 3 days, beating out God of War 2018, which set the record for, what was it, 4 months? Yeah, 4 months prior. And then on top of that, too, it has gone on to sell well over 26 million copies. 22 million copies worldwide. You can't really argue with this game's success. It's been meteoric. It's been one of the best sellers. On top of that, too, it also received a limited edition PS4 Pro, as well as a collector's edition as well. And yeah, those are some fun facts about that. Do you have anything you'd like to add to those little facts I just put out there?
Nothing in particular. I guess one that I would point out is I do believe this was the first Spider-Man game in some time when it came out. I want to say there was a gap of like at least 5 or 6 years. I want to say the last one might have been one of Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man games, like movie tie-ins. I'm trying to think of what maybe Web of Shadows came out after that. I might have my timeline a little mixed up on the last one, but it was the first one in quite some time in terms of like a major Spider-Man game for console.
So I think Web of Shadows was 2009.
God, was that 2009? Oh my
And
word.
then the other two, what Crack in Time and Across Time or something like that. Edge of Time.
Shattered Dimensions.
Shattered Dimensions and Edge of Time, right? Those are two.
I believe so. And then I thought the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man one, when did his first movie? I think they did one for his first movie. And that might have been one of the last ones, if not somewhere in that range. Because I think his first movie was like 2010 or 11-ish.
Yes, they definitely, I know they did that for a fact. I'm looking up the dates right now. So Shattered Dimensions, ironically enough, released 8 years to the date of the 2018 one.
Oh, no kidding.
September 7th of 2010 was Shattered Dimensions. And Edge of Time. I totally forget how these ones work together. All right, so Edge of Time was the last one, and that was October 4th, 2011.
Okay, that must be what I'm thinking of. I knew there was something in 2011.
Are gonna release date for the video game. Should specify video game on there. It came out April 29th, 2014. So you're correct about that one.
Okay, so it was 24. Okay, because I didn't realize, I wasn't sure if they did one for his second movie or not.
They did, because I remember.
So that makes sense then, because that was that was the time of that movie.
Yeah, I remember seeing a PS4 copy of it, so I know that it was very late in cycle, but I couldn't remember exactly what day it was. Like, was it a 2013 like launch title, or did it come later? Because Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2, sorry, actually was kind of late early 2010, so it was relatively on that border, you know.
Well, so the Amazing Spider-Man 1, I believe, was around that time. So number 2 was that summer of 2014. I only remember because it was a big summer for superhero movies. I believe X-Men Days of Future Past was that summer. There was one of the big Marvel ones was that summer too. I just can't remember exactly which one. So that one did line up with the movie, I believe, that year, which I want to say would have been somewhere during that summertime.
Right, exactly. It was close to that time. You're right. Nerdproler says 2012. Was that are you talking about the movie there?
No, I'm pretty sure The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was 2014, because I could have sworn I saw it back to back with Days of Future Past, and I remember being like, "Holy crap! Days of Future Past was such a better movie than that one." Was it Winter Soldier? Yes, because Civil War was 2015. Okay, That makes sense. I knew there was one of the big Marvel ones that was that year. Nerdporial.
So
Thank you for
May
checking that.
2nd, 2014 was the Amazing Spider-Man 2's
Okay.
theatrical launch.
Yeah, that makes sense. 'Cause I just remember back in the days when I was still going to GameStop, seeing this one on the shelf a ton, and one day I finally got it and didn't really like it, so I didn't end up playing through it. But I ended up, I think, exchanging it for God knows what, probably pennies on the dollar.
Yeah. And now I think that game's worth like a lot of money too,
You
ironically
go
enough.
figure. Go
It's
figure.
ju-
That's kind of the way my luck works.
Well, it's just like with every one of these like Spider-Man games, it just like shot up in price randomly. It's just like, ooh, here we go. It's a hot topic, guys.
It's yeah, whatever.
I know it's always the case, right? It's just like, oh, this game is, garbage, you know?
Yeah, but it's still going to go up just because licensing ended or some nonsense. Like, all right, whatever. I'll wait till it's cheap again when you guys don't care if I want to try to play it.
Yeah, exactly.
What, not worth the money.
So before we begin, we kind of gave a little bit of history about some of our other favorite superhero games. We kind of talked about all little fun facts of that. Now, what was your experience with this game? How would you overall just like to describe your time with it before we kind of start breaking into the details?
I mean, honestly, really simply, I just loved it. Absolutely loved it. Is it perfect? No, it's got its flaws. Absolutely. I actually just streamed this game last, I want to say like, honestly, it was over almost the whole fall and winter. Took me a while to actually get through it, but I did just recently stream it in the past year, which was one of my, I don't even know how many playthroughs at this point. And every time I play it, I love it that much more. I don't get sick of replaying it. Even with its warts, we'll talk about some of that with some of the MJ missions and things like that, and the game just slowing down at times. That's in a crazy kind of way. But it was one that I was super excited for. I still remember seeing, it was when they first demoed some of the gameplay, and it was just him kind of parkour moving through like a little restaurant scene of just hopping over tables, and like the fluidity in which he moved was like, I don't feel like I've ever seen this in a Spider-Man game before, and I've played quite a few of them. So seeing that, I to this day still remember getting incredibly hyped, excited for it, couldn't wait to see more. And then, this was a console seller for me. I didn't have a PS4 until this game was ready for launch, and I bought one specifically for it. So it was one that I was super excited for. I loved it, and I love that feeling when something doesn't disappoint. It's in a world of like, you can get so excited for movies, TV shows, games, whatever it may be. Sometimes even, going to a sporting event or whatever, you're excited to go and you get there and the game's crap and you're like, oh God, that was a waste of money. Like, in a world where disappointment is so easily something you run into when you're excited or anticipating something, it really is amazing when it just feels like it lives up to everything that you wanted it to be. And this game was a case of that for me.
Yeah, there's something about this game when you first play it. I think they did a good justice to start with more of a early 20-year-old Peter Parker instead of, mouthy, young, spry.
Yeah,
Oh,
the high
Uncle
school
Ben's dead
version.
again.
I do like that. It's made, even like story wise in general, there's a little bit of origin stuff in there, but there's stuff that's already established too. He's meeting, or going to meet, Dr. Octavius as Doc Ock at one point. Norman Osborn's up to no good, but he's not quite Norman Osborn yet in terms of Goblin and all that. But then you have things that are established. You have Vulture, Scorpion, Shocker, guys that he has been fighting, things like that. So it's a nice little blend of like, we're not going to do an origin story for him because, frankly, everybody pretty much it's like Batman. Everybody knows the parents. Everybody knows Uncle Ben, especially with it having been done in movies so much in our lifetime. So it's like, let's not do an origin story for him. Let's have him in an established setting, but not too established that we can still kind of do some parts of origins of his story, like meeting Doc Ock or the kind of road to getting towards Doc Ock.
Yeah. And on top of that too, it's just kind of a fun take, I guess you could say, because some of the story beats in this is Norman wants to run for mayor. So he's not really like the CEO kind of guy. And full disclosure here, I'm not a comic book fan. I'm not going to know all the lore and all the Easter eggs that some of you guys out there might be used to. So before you kill us in the comments and everything else here, just letting you know, I'm not a comic book nerd, so I don't know all the, references and the lore and that. I know mostly the story from the movies and the cartoon show, and of course through mainstream osmosis because Spider-Man is the most popular probably Marvel superhero, I would say easily.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I would
Yeah.
say that I people tend to think that I read comics. I actually don't. I've read a handful of comics my entire life. All my love for these, whether it's DC, Marvel, or whatever, it all comes from because we grew up at a time from the '90s, maybe I guess even the '80s too. There was older shows, but when you're talking about Spider-Man, X-Men, Batman, Justice League, the era of '90s to early 2000s, that side of animation was phenomenal. All the movies, the video games, that's where all my love and knowledge for superhero characters come from. I'm
Yeah.
not a comic person either in terms of reading the books. So again, we might, like something that's done in this story that's not comic accurate, and that's just going to be the way it is.
Yeah. So I just want to say, like, full disclosure, like, try just get that out of the way so people can lower their expectations.
Yeah.
If you're expecting something different, let's kind of establish that early. But yeah, I did, like you said, I do remember like that E3 showcase, and funny enough, I do remember one of the big controversies. Do you remember Puddlegate by any chance?
I do not know. Oh, wait a
So
minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. I do. Why does this sound so familiar? It was in the gameplay of him in that building that's being like constructed, right?
right.
God, yeah, I vaguely remember it, but now I can't remember the specifics on it.
So there was like some I think this is when console warring on Twitter was just like normal. And it's just like
Mhm.
people were like, "Oh, look at those puddles. They've downgraded the puddle size and
Yes,
everything else
yes,
like
this
that."
yep. Mhm.
And I'm just like, what kind of lame person are you that this is one of the things you're going to try to like argue about just to try to
Right.
own something?
If you gotta look at the puddles to say something's bad, then, I mean, you've kinda missed the plot, man.
Yeah. So, getting back more on track here, I just remember watching this and go, "Oh, this looks like it's going to be fun." I don't think I've ever seen a Spider-Man game where Peter Parker was so jumpy and responsive and flying around as much as any other of these other games to say prior. They always felt like they had a little jank to them, and I think it's just because they were quickly put together and pushed out as fast as they could, where they
Mhm,
didn't have as much control as I would say 2018 really took it to the next level. And as
mhm.
much as we like to really dunk on all the games journalists where they go like, "Man, it really makes you feel like Spider-Man." There really is not another word out, thing you can really say to just like put it out there. Like, how do you feel when you play this game? It's just like I feel like Spider-Man.
Yeah. No, 100%. It is the best Spider-Man, simulation, out there in that sense. It's definitely, in my opinion, the most kinda groundbreaking or I guess the biggest game to push the genre forward in terms or the specifically this, hero in this genre of superhero games. This is the biggest one or the biggest advancement I think since Spider-Man 2, and that's not to discredit the games that came in between those. It was just that web swinging mechanic was unbelievable for the time of Spider-Man 2, and this is just so polished, the combat's so good. Like you said, all that jank is just kinda out of it, and it's just a really good, well-made, sound mechanics, beautifully polished type of game, and I think, yeah, 100% I would say that for me at least, probably the biggest advancement since Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, it's just the way you dodge, the way you go under
Mhm.
enemies, where you shoot the webs and you slide under them and they fall forward and stumble, and
Yeah.
then you can uppercut them and hit them.
The
And
finishers you mix in that even though it's a little bit of a cinematic finisher, it's still because you have a few buttons to press in it, it still feels satisfying in terms of gameplay and completing those moves versus just the combos and the dodges and stringing all those together. It's just so well done.
yeah, and you just are ripping their guns out of their hands with your
Mhm.
webs, and then you're
Mhm.
swinging around, you're hitting them with them. It is just one of the best fluid combats, and you got the Spidey sense too.
Mhm.
So it'll kick in when an enemy's coming after you from behind, and you have to dodge, duck, and dip, dive. Just you can fly around everywhere. The combo system is also pretty good. You can uppercut, fly in the air, web swing, kick them in the air, uppercut them again, fire a web, lift a guy up, keep wombo
Mhm.
comboing, throw in some gadgets here and there too. It is very busy, but it's good busy.
Mhm.
You're
Well, no,
you know?
sorry, go ahead.
No, that I go and finish your point. I gotta say.
No, no, I was just gonna jump in one, I agree that it is very busy. There's a lot going on, but one of the beauties of that, outside of just how fun is it also allows you to just customize and choreograph how you want to go through these fight scenes or fight portions of the game. Especially when you have kind of those warehouse missions where like the first part
Mhm.
of it is stealth and then it flips into just straight up brawl.
Mhm.
You get to use those gadgets like your little trip mines and all those things, and you can really choreograph the way you play to be your own little personal Spider-Man experience within the narrative of the game itself, which is again something that I think Arkham kind of really laid the groundwork for, the Arkham series,
Oh, yeah,
but this
easily.
continues it in such a fun way and adapts it to this hero, I think, perfectly.
You know what is even, better to say? Traversal in this game is just
Yes.
mwah, it is
Oh,
just perfect. Chef's kiss.
absolutely,
You
absolutely.
you're just running up buildings, like, at the speed of sound with well, not at the speed of sound, but you know what I mean? You're, like,
Yeah,
really
yeah.
hustling
Smooth,
up this
just
building, you know?
and it's just like you said, that the transition through the traversal is so like whether it's swinging straight into the side of a building, you'd think you're going to kind of George of the Jungle into the tree. Nope,
Mhm,
you slip right into a run up, 90-degree run up the wall. Or sometimes when you're getting like too close to the edge of the building, does that little wall run where he
mhm.
kind of just sideways runs a little bit along the wall until you get to some free space and pick up the swinging motion, which I do think was something that the Spider-Man 2 game did a bit of back in the day, but this was again just taking it to that next level 20 years later with what technology could do. And it's that kind of stuff, the web yanks in midair when you kind of lose space to connect a web swing, so you just kind of got to get by with like a couple web yanks to get you to the next building,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. And then you got the cool little style moves that they put into it too, that you can do backflips and front flips and corkscrews and all these things to just again that traversal system, like you said, chef's kiss. It's unbelievable.
Well, it's if we're gonna even talk about just all this traversal system, we are also leaving out just how fun it is also that Spider-Man will do, like, catapults, to, like, flip over and keep momentum going.
Hmm.
He'll do, like, the side things that you could if you ever played, Sunset Overdrive, you will see where it's
Hmm.
just, like, they got some inspiration for this movement, and they just completely redefined it in Spider-Man, where it's just you're just doing all these amazing tips and tricks and all this other crazy nonsense where they even have a fast travel system and you're like, why would I ever use a fast travel
Yeah,
system?
literally. It's like one of the first game, not one of the first, that's a little bit dramatic, but
Mhm,
it's one of the few games where like I never really use the fast track system. I don't see it. I don't need to fast travel in that game. I talk about it all the time, especially with open world games. Sometimes you get something like a Red Dead 2, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I hate horseback riding from point to
mhm.
point in Red Dead 2. It's too much. It's too long. Is it a beautiful world, immersive with creatures and all this stuff that's phenomenally done? 100% I would agree with that. Props where it's due. It's boring as hell to go from Valentine to St. Denis or whatever, St. Denis
Mhm.
by horseback. Like I'm not doing it. I've fast travel that every single time. This game, I want to web swing through the entirety of New York every chance that I get. I don't care if it's from the north of the map all the way down to the south. I would prefer to just go through it as Spider-Man.
Because it just feels so fun to do that, where you got J. Jonah Jameson's little podcast.
Yes, yes.
He breaks in every now and then talking about Spider-Man, he's a menace. And it has like that Alex Jones kind of feel where he's just constantly
Mhm.
talking about, Spider-Man, what is he? Is he really an alien? We don't
Yeah.
know. It
Yep.
they they really had fun, capturing the spirit of J. Jonah Jameson at least, and then on top of that too, it's just you're just going around New York, and you get to go and check out all these places, like, "Oh, here's Doctor Strange's, fortress, here's the Avengers
Mhm.
Tower," and I can run all the way up on Avengers
Yeah,
Tower.
that's awesome.
I get to swing around Harlem, Hell's Kitchen, and I get this view. I can see the Statue of Liberty, and I can't really go to the Statue of Liberty, but,
Mhm.
I
But
I
you
I
can go
can
to
see.
Madison Square Garden, that's right there, and I wanna say Nelson and Murdoch, their law office is in there
Mhm.
somewhere too. There's so much fun with that.
Yeah, so there's, for some of the trophies, you actually have to go, and you have to, like, explore, the iconic landmarks of New
Yeah,
York
take the
City and
pictures, yep.
also, like, the iconic landmarks of, Marvel's New York City, you know?
Mhm.
And I just feel like this game was just captures that spirit of like what you would do if you were Spider-Man. You're swinging around, and then all of a sudden, just like, oh, I got to help this, homeless guy get his pigeons back, or oh, I got to, help the cops stop a armed robbery and everything else like that. And then you stop the armed robbery and you rip out the tires, and the car flips over, and you got to
Mhm.
catch the car as Spider-Man. I like I said, it's the busy work, the side missions and everything just feel so great. and I love it so much.
Well, that's such a good point. Because it's something I have an issue with in the second game. The side missions. The side missions really are such good. Like the busy work is a great term to use. I've never used that for side missions before, but I like it because side missions are kind of just busy work. But man, are they so good in this game and so much fun to go through. It was a genuine joy to 100% this game. I don't typically like. I know our buddy Neo 100% almost everything. I almost rarely ever 100% anything because I just have such limited time sometimes that as soon as I kind of get through a story, even if I enjoy some of the side missions, sometimes I just let it go because it's like, all right, I got to try to fit in another game here. I just can't focus that much on trying to 100% everything. So
Right.
I very rarely do that. This one I've done it, I think twice, and I did 100% Spider-Man 2. Unfortunately, I wish I didn't in retrospect on that one. But no, I agree that the side missions in this, they are phenomenal.
Yeah. So first we gotta go check up on chat here. First we got
Yes,
Jack
yes.
K9 K6Q8C. I'm just gonna say Jack, hello.
Hey, Jack.
How you doing? You new to the channel? First time saying hi? Just welcome. Hope you're enjoying this. And then we got Mr. October Mike who has a big explanation that I think he wanted us to read. So let's read it for
Mhm.
him. For my experience, I really wanted to play Marvel's Spider-Man 1 and on the PS4 back. I was such a Nintendo gamer back then and never really got a PS4 console until 2020. A cousin of mine bought the PS5 and he randomly started asking me if I wanted a PlayStation console. I said yes to play Spider-Man, God of War, and Kingdom Hearts. Then I went to visit his home and tada, he gave me his PS4 as an early Christmas gift. Bought the game and enjoyed it as I got gifted PlayStation gift cards. Well, that's
Nice.
good.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
awesome.
like, so I really liked that Spider-Man. Listen, 2018 was the year of PlayStation. All right. There's
Yeah,
no
it was a good
ifs,
one,
ands,
right?
or buts about it. All right. They had God of War, they had Detroit Become Human, they had Spider-Man, and on top of that, too, they had like the best limited edition consoles that came out that year. The God of War PlayStation 4 Pro, the Spider-Man PlayStation 4
Mm,
Pro, the Monster Hunter World PlayStation 4 Pro. All those consoles were just bangers, and that definitely help spike some sales for sure
mhm.
with just all those bundles and everything else. And that on top of that too, all those games I just listed pretty much were nominated for game of the year, best actors, stories. It's just wild how
Mhm.
like 2018 was just this like amazing year, especially if you were a PlayStation fan.
Absolutely. Sorry, I was just taking a sip of my drink.
No, no,
Absolutely,
no,
I
you're fine.
agree.
But yeah, I'm happy that you were able to get a PlayStation 4 and you played a lot of these games. But yeah,
Well, that's an awesome story, and I'd like to point out Sony. That's the beauty of physical stuff. So just keep that in mind. It's nice when somebody can give somebody their old console, an old game, whatever. So maybe think about that.
yeah, exactly. I mean, when we were younger, I gifted my consoles to my cousins
Oh
for the
yeah,
older ones,
absolutely. And
and
now I
now
find myself rebuying all of them. But yeah, no, I did the same.
yeah, now I
Old
regret
games,
giving
old
those to.
consoles. Every time I moved on from something, it all got shipped out to one of my other cousins or a friend who didn't have the old one or whatever. And yeah, I mean that was that's one of the beauties of physical media and physical consoles.
Yeah, the only console I still have from back in when I was a kid is my GameCube. My original GameCube I still have.
Oh, nice. I don't have any originals, unfortunately. I've had to re-get everything.
I feel you with that. There's only a couple consoles that have survived with me from start to finish, as they would say, and that's my GameCube
Mhm.
and my Halo Reach 360. Those are the only two OGs that I bought.
And I actually am a liar. I just remembered I do have one original console, and it was my Game Boy Pocket, my blue Game Boy Pocket from the late 90s. I do
Oh
still
hell
have
yeah!
that. Yep, I do still have that exact one. And my original copy of Pokemon Blue version, the one that I begged my father to get me, and he got me. I'll never get rid of that one.
Yeah, make sure the battery works. Just don't forget
Oh,
that.
yeah, that's something I always gotta keep an eye on, true.
All right. So before we begin, or before we move on, I should say, any other thoughts you would like to add to just basically the combat and traversal and just like really what set this apart for you from other Spider-Man games?
Um, I feel like I've covered kind of just the general, main things about what drew me to this, what I loved about it right out of the gate. Trying to think, we'll get to kind of the things that continue to keep me engaged in terms of story and stuff like that as we go on here. But no, I think I kind of covered my wax poetic of why I love this game.
Yeah. But, I wanna start at the beginning of this game. Obviously, this is, not a, Peter Parker that is, learning the ropes. He is a seasoned veteran for this, and I think that they did a good job, for the opening level to be like the tutorial where you get to climb through and do all the stealth and go through all the vents and learn how to
Mhm.
do roundups and everything and stealth takedowns, but I did think that was a really good way to start the game where your first boss that you fight is Fisk.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Uh,
what do you think about that opening?
No, I agree. I think it starts cinematically. I think it starts wonderfully with him in the apartment and trying to kind of, it just kind of shows you the hustle and bustle of being Peter Parker and Spider Man, where he's just making breakfast and it's silly little things. Makes breakfast, puts toast in the toaster, grabs it with his webs as he's getting dressed and all that in the suit, and the smells of the suit and it smells bad or whatever. It's just that kind of idea of, yeah, this is a lived in world for Peter Parker. This isn't an origin story. This is him in his 20s or mid to or early to mid 20s. He's balancing this double life, and it's a struggle living in New York. It's not like he's in some glamorous penthouse apartment like Iron Man. He's in this crappy little apartment, building his own tech, doing all that. So it sets the stage for who this Peter Parker is really nice, and it's just really a nice little like cinematic transition from him doing all that in the apartment, and then he jumps out, and it kind of zooms right into him web swinging, and that's when the tutorial starts. And you start doing your thing. Really smooth and really clever little way to do it, where none of it feels like a drag either. You do kind of progress through this tutorial level very quickly in the sense of like, okay, this is the button to swing your way out. By the time you get there, you're having so much fun swinging that by the time you get there, you're learning a few things on the way. But even when you get to Fisk Tower, you know, it's a combination of all the kinds of combats combats and mechanics that you'll get throughout the course of the game. You do a little bit of stealth, like you said, going through the vents. You have a little bit of trying to pick off the enemies one by one to thin the herd before you get into a brawl. Then you have the brawl itself. Then you get a boss fight with Fisk, and it does also set up the Fisk side missions and his presence throughout the game, as it goes on. And I also thought this was kind of a clever little thing. I think it does, just as a bit of a fan, a comic, not comic, but superhero nerd. I do like that it includes Fisk, but also kind of does away with him in the story where, because Fisk is a pretty big villain, and he could just as easily be the main villain of this whole game.
Mhm.
So they kind of just like square him away, whereas like we're just going to put him in jail right away, but also have his thugs still be something that you interact with and deal with. So it's not like you're playing a game where you feel like a lesser villain is actually in a role where a major, because some of the other the side missions villains, they are a little bit lesser. Like when you look at Tombstone and some of the characters like that, it makes sense that they'd be on the side, not necessarily they're not necessarily villains you would make a whole game based on as them as the main
Mhm.
one. So I thought it was clever to have Fisk, who is somebody you could do a whole game as a main villain, kind of in the game, but squared away so that it makes sense and you get to continue on with the rest of the story, but also still have some interactions with him and Fisk, because it's not something we've seen too much of in video games, if I can think of at least. Whereas we've seen him interact with all these other villains in this game.
Yeah, and, like, Wilson Fisk is one of those interesting choices that you kinda put out there because on some aspects, he is kind of like the more scary Spider-Man villains out there because he's just relatively a normal dude who's just really, really strong.
Mhm.
Like when you look at all these other, like, villains that he fights, it's like Doc Ock, he's got crazy mechanical arms and he's super intelligent. Vulture flies around in a vulture suit, kind of, also a genius in his own right. Scorpion has like a suit that can just make you hallucinate with venom.
Mhm.
Rhino, a Russian thug with,
Yeah.
just
All brawn, not much brain. Yeah.
yeah, they joke about that too. And then one of the villains that they introduced in this one, Mr. Negative, uh,
Yeah. Mhm.
a very interesting origin story where you just basically can control like bad energy blast if he and just be like just out of like mood swings basically.
Mhm.
But like Fisk is just he's like that stereotypical, what you would see of like a New York gangster who's ruthless, cunning, and he in himself is not afraid to get his hands dirty too.
Mhm.
Like if push comes to shove, he's ready to throw down, and he will kill you if you give him the chance.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Good. Completely ruthless, brute, who's also, intelligent, crime savvy, the whole deal. Builds, kind of two sides of an empire, a criminal one and a more legitimate looking side of it with your Fisk Tower and your Fisk Industries, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So yeah, he's a phenomenal villain, I think, personally. And I would actually one day love to see them do a game where he is the main villain. To be honest with you, I do feel like he's an A-list one,
Mhm.
but he is just such a different one and such a cool one in terms of Spider-Man's rogues.
Yeah, I gotta say, Vincent D'Onofrio or Fanafrio. How do you say his last name?
Vincent D'Onofrio.
D'Onofrio. Thank you. I was like, why am I messing this up? I think he helped regain the coolness of Fisk. To be honest with you, with the mainstream.
I would say, in terms of bringing him mainstream, I would say yes, he definitely got him pretty mainstream. But I would also not pretty mainstream, not to say it like that. I guess in the sense of he just kind of brought him back to a little bit more. I don't want to say relevancy either. I guess yeah,
Back in the
just kind of
zeitgeist,
get him. Yeah, like back in this, because everybody thinks of Spider-Man, they think of Green Goblin, and so it kind of got him back into like, yeah, this is a really prominent Marvel villain. Obviously, D'Onofrio was with Daredevil,
Mhm.
but you hadn't seen him even with Daredevil. You hadn't seen him since Ben Affleck's Daredevil in live action, where Kingpin was the villain in that one as well. So yeah, I would say D'Onofrio did a great job of getting him back into kind of the regular everyday life of people in terms of pop culture. But also Spider-Man, God, what is the name of it? The animated one with Miles Morales,
Oh
Into
yeah,
the Spider-Verse.
into the
Spider-Man Into the
Spider-Verse. Yeah,
Spider-Verse, I think, did a good job at that as well.
yeah, because that Fisk actually kills that universe's Peter Parker.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that's also pretty cool to think about. It just helped. I think they really had this push in like the 2010s that they're like, we're gonna bring Kingpin / Fisk back in like
Yeah,
hardcore
to
fashion.
relevancy, I guess, is not. It almost sounds disrespectful because I don't mean it to, because he is a great character. But you're right, bringing him back into fashion, bringing him back into just you know the mind, where I
Well,
think people might have forgot about him a bit from the '90s.
yeah, but you
Because he
laid it
was
out
great in the
perfectly.
'90s animated series too.
Yeah, but like you laid out perfectly. Everyone kind of just fell in love with the Green Goblins and
Mhm.
everything else, the Venom, and that there was just
Yep.
more villains that they were focusing on. I think in the '90s and also in the early 2000s, where they just like, okay, this is the decade of Green Goblin. This is the decade of Venom. Where,
Mhm.
whereas like Fisk is just, I think D'Onofrio did such a good job at portraying his character. I think they were like, well, maybe we can work with this one here because a lot of people loved his performance as
Oh,
Fisk in
it's so
Daredevil.
good. It's
Yeah.
just so brutal. It does that perfect balance of his kind of professional and calm side, and then the just like that. I'll never that opening scene. I think it's in episode one when he. I don't want to say the wrong thing because YouTube when he uses the car door in a certain way for a guy that he has a disagreement with. It's like, oh my God, what I was not expecting the show at all to even be that brutal. Never mind this take on Fisk. And that car door scene is just like, woof, wow, that was
There,
jarring.
there's a lot of amazing scenes with his character's Fisk, like later on, but
Mhm.
that's for another time because those are
Yes,
the
yes.
TV shows. But it's hard to not say that it. You had to think that some of that was played into the relevancy too of why they chose to bring him back the way they did. I mean,
Oh,
besides for the
absolutely.
other Easter eggs, of course.
Mhm.
But another thing too, what I liked about this as well was that you have Peter Parker kind of refusing to take the money from Osborn to kind of just help out the smaller guys. Obviously we talked about it before, but he's working with Doctor Otto
Yep.
Octavius,
Yep.
and he's like got an interesting story in this one, and I think it's kind of similar in the comics, kind of different depending on which one it is. But him and Norman, they go way back, and he kind of still looks at Norman and is pissed off at him for kind of screwing him over and kind of taking credit for a lot of inventions, becoming rich, and he's still basically trying to get his big break. And
Mhm.
he's working on this new neurological device to help people with those neurological diseases. And you could tell Peter being the kind-hearted person that he is, he really wants to help Otto succeed, and he really wants to make a change. They kind of emphasize this a little bit more later on in Spider-Man 2 a little bit, where it's just like ever since he was a kid, him and Harry, I always forget his name, but like they were friends, they grew up together, and they kind of mention it too, like Harry's mother and Aunt May, they always want to help people and everything. So he kind of takes that, nature of I just want to be a hero, not only just as Spider-Man, but even just if I was a regular schmo, I just want to help people I believe can do good and change the world in a positive way.
Mhm. No,
So
absolutely.
so I do like that. I especially like it as well because, Aunt May, she works at a homeless shelter in this
Well,
game.
right, yeah, she's got Feast, the homeless shelter she works at with Martin Lee,
Mhm.
and Peter's even doing double shifts of his life, some shifts of his life over there. So it's again, it goes to show how much he does just care about people and want to be that friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's balancing his regular life, his social life, his Spider-Man life, and even spending some time doing work, with the I believe it's a homeless shelter
Yes,
over
it
at
is
the
a homeless
Feast
shelter.
the Feast
Yes.
facility. So yeah, it's just a very I love the heart of this Peter Parker. It feels so much like it should.
I also love that they really show Aunt May for being the mother figure in
Mhm,
Peter's life and everything,
mhm,
where she's leaving him money. She's trying to tell him, go eat some food and
mhm,
everything. She's worried about him being behind on rent and everything else. Everyone who's had a mother in their life can really just like sympathize. It's like, yeah, that's exactly what a mom does.
mhm.
Even
Absolutely.
even to like her dying day, it's just like she's always going to worry about you and always
Mhm,
like, "Are you okay, Peter? You just want to make sure you have money and everything else like that."
mhm. No, absolutely, absolutely. I think she pulls that maternal kind of instinct and feeling off incredibly well with her character. And what I love about it too is she does all that, and you don't find out to the end. And I don't want you, skip ahead too far.
Right.
But what she reveals at the end of what she knows about Peter, it's like, man, even knowing who he is, it's you still just treat him like a son. Like that's it.
Mhm.
Like it's not you're still just I don't care what powers you have. I don't care what mask you put on. You're still, my Peter, and that's how she just views him. And it's really touching. It's really nice.
Yeah. Now I kind of am getting a little bit confused a little bit about this one too, but do we get the photos of Peter kind of also growing up and there's like pictures of him and Aunt May together? I know in the second game that's a little bit more fleshed out, but is it also fleshed out in this game too? Because I
Um,
think in her office she has like photos of him as well.
yeah, I think so because there is that portion where you're kind of going through some of the offices at Feast. I think that's this one. I do blur some of them, some of the details of the three different games. Mostly the two Peter ones are the ones that blur the most because Miles stands
Mhm.
out on its own. But
Right.
I do want to say there's a bit of that in this one, and there could be a bit of that more of like a memorial type of way in the second one.
Yeah, because I just remember, like, one of the more fun parts about this storyline is that they really give you Aunt May as, like, a really good humanitarian, kind-hearted person.
Mhm.
Everyone at the shelter loves her. She's got awards and everything, photos from with, I think, Norman Osborn and charity drives and stuff. You could tell that, um the way they wanted to portray her was just as like the most caring woman that you could possibly find, to almost a little bit of a comical extent if you really think about it. But at the same time, she does fit that, pillar of the community vibe that I think they were trying to go with, which makes this story so much worse at the end in so
Mm.
many ways that we will of course address. But I do think you know, we, we love our Aunt May storylines, and I think this is one of the better ones. I've seen some people say that it sucks, and
Really?
yes, and I look at those people and I just go, man, you must really hate your life.
I mean, some people are just contrarians. They have to have the opposite opinion. So fair enough. Or it is what it is. But I think they handle it well for everything you just said, and I think also the idea of showing that she's also a major part of Peter's life and kind of where his good-hearted nature comes from. Because again, you got to remember, anybody in the world can get powers, and it's just going to amplify more of probably what you already are. So if you're an asshole that gets powers, odds are you'd probably be a supervillain. If you're a good
Yeah.
guy, you'd be a hero, a hero. So I think a lot of what they do with kind of showing Aunt May is how much she's an influence in his kind of moral compass beyond just, because we know the Uncle Ben, we know the great power, great responsibility, we know all that. Um, but again, that would have happened a lot earlier on in Peter's life. And as much as those words stuck with him, though, that could fade over time. If you're, seeing crime and fighting crime all this time and seeing that it feels like the streets never get any better from crime and things never get any better and all stays the same no matter what you do. So that constant guidance of it doesn't matter. We have to continue to do good, and seeing it from Aunt May, I think it's not something that's deliberately said. It's kind of always been maybe a little bit of my headcanon of filling in why they wrote her the way they did. But I feel like they wrote her the way they did to show that she is a lot of what Peter's moral compass and conscience and guidance is made up of is her and her personality, because she raised him.
Putting the downtrot before yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
that's for sure one of the things,
because it's the right thing to do, type of thing. Yep, absolutely.
Like if you have any sort of ability to make people's lives better, you should do it. And Aunt May is not portrayed as being rich by any stretch of the imagination in these games, but at the same time, you can tell that she does great acts of kindness and generosity through different means by donating her time and her body to trying to make lives better as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so I might be getting this confused because over the past month, I've consumed an absurd amount of Spider-Man stuff between rewatching the movies, watching the new one, playing Spider-Man 2 over. So I might be getting the source of this quote mixed up, but I do think it's applicable to many versions of Aunt May that we've seen. In one of the movies, or possibly, I think it's maybe the game, but forgive me if it's actually from one of the Tom Holland movies. But there's a line of, Aunt May always says, you save one person, you save them all, or you help one person, you help them all. Maybe that's what it is. And it's such a great encapsulation of the Aunt May character, whether it is in a lot of the movies or in this game. So regardless of whichever one it comes from, I think that's a perfect way to kind of give a little quote to how this Aunt May functions and kind of what she's all about.
Yeah, no, for sure. I do agree with you on that one, very much so. But I think we can put a little bit of a pin on Aunt May. We can kind of talk about a couple of the other characters that are in this game that are kind of a big part of their life. And that is police captain, sorry, Yuri. Yep. The cop liaison, I guess you could say, between Spider-Man and her. Also, funny enough, they're married in real life. The voice actors.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah. Yeah, I found that out a while ago. I don't know.
What's the voice actor's name? Isn't it Yuri?
Yuri Lowenthal is the voice of Spider-Man.
Isn't it Yuri Watanabe as the character, the police?
Yes.
Oh, go figure. I'm assuming they did that on purpose.
Maybe, or it was just a happy coincidence. But but yeah, the two voice actors are actually married in real life, or they were, and it was hilarious. But she's more of like this gruff, edgy cop where she doesn't really like Spider-Man, but she also wants to work with Spider-Man on certain things. I thought that dynamic was pretty funny because it just feels like very Sunadre is like, no, I don't like you, baka, kind of deal like that.
Well, I think it's a funny dynamic because it's like you can tell that she does, genuinely, she does have a like for him, but she also finds him like the whole Spider Cop thing and all that. Like she finds him incredibly annoying and all that, and it's like, oh, you're just always such a good mood, and she is the kind of, as you said, gruff and kind of grizzled police captain who's seen it all, and I'm sure the job's taken a toll on her disposition in terms of the everyday, like, let's put a smile on. And he's just, he's Spider-Man. He's chippy. He's happy. He's happy-go-lucky, always energetic, blah, 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 doing goofy, silly stuff. So her kind of resentment for that side of his personality plays off very well with the fact that, like, you do feel like there is a, a friendship there and a good working relationship.
Yeah. On top of that, too, it's, like I said, it's just, like, you could tell she gets annoyed with him, but like Spider Cop was so funny. Like that's what I mean.
So good.
it was genuinely so energetic and felt just like something, Peter Parker would be like as Spider-Man. It's like Spider Cop's on the case here. And
No,
she's like,
absolutely.
"Listen, I just found like a crackhead just microwaved a
Like,
baby.
today's not
Could
the
you
day,
take this
dude.
seriously for a minute here?"
Literally.
And then also Yuri Lowenthal and Tara Platt. Those
Okay.
are those are the voice actor and actresses. I only met Tara Platt last year. Was going to meet Yuri, but his line was extremely long. I
Hmm.
could not meet him last year. He is a very well known voice actor. I think he's also he's in a Persona game. I'm trying to remember which one it is. I think he's in Persona 4 as well. So he has a lot of fans. I know he's gotten the rounds as well. Tara Platt had no one on her line, so I got in immediately. Oh, that's kind of sad.
Yeah. You never, you want to see them all have a nice little line and feel like the trip to the con was worth it.
Hmm. Another thing too, like we kind of got Yuri's kind of just like it's more fun to say that her interactions between both, just her talking to Spider-Man, that she becomes a bigger character in the DLC, which I'm pretty sure we can talk about later.
Mhm.
But in the game, like you could tell, like she's not as like invested. It feels like, but once you get into the DLC, she's like super invested in the
Yeah,
story.
because she's in the Hammerhead DLC, right?
Hmm.
Okay. It's honestly, it's been a little while since I've played the Black Cat or the Hammerhead stuff. So I do remember, because I remember how she ends up in the second game, and that's right. It's because of the result of the Hammerhead stuff.
Yeah, the Hammerhead DLC was not that good. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't.
Yeah, I did. That's kind of why it's like something I've never really gone back to replay again, because I vaguely remember how it plays out and not even all that well. Even the Black Hat one was all right. It was, it was more game to play. That's kind of how I've always
Yeah,
looked at it.
yeah, right here. I knew this. Yuri Lowenthal played the main protagonist in 3 and Yosuke in 4. I knew this one off the top of my head, but I did not know that Platt played both Mitsuru and Elizabeth in
Oh,
that one. I
cool.
learned something new today there. Thank you for that, Mr. Mike. All right, so I guess we should introduce the last character that is actually super important to the first act of this game, and that is, of course, Mary Jane.
Oh, is it ever?
So, what did you think about Mary Jane? I want to hear your thoughts first because I got some thoughts, but I don't know if we are on the same page. So I'm curious to hear what you have to say first.
So it's not my favorite take on Mary Jane at all. It's one of my least
Mm,
favorite, to be honest. I find her personality in it to be annoying. It just feels very kind of stubborn in a sense of like, not, and it carries on even worse in Spider-Man 2, but essentially they set up the whole dynamic, if I recall, of coming into finding out that they've been broken up for a little bit. And I don't know, sometimes it just feels like she's super stubborn about like her inability to understand that like he has to be Spider-Man. And that always aggravates me when it comes to like in any story, honestly, when they try to tell like a superhero love story and it's like the partner, whatever it is, whoever the hero is, whoever the partner is like stubborn or getting aggravated with them being a hero. It's like, dude, I'm sorry, but you're dating Spider-Man. What did you think this was going to be like? Like, he has to be Spider-Man. You can't just get frustrated. I mean, you can, but like, also you signed up for this. So like, you have to have some willingness to understand, like, he's got to be Spider-Man. He can't just not because it's date night or, you feel like you haven't seen him in a couple of days. It's like, oh yeah, he's been out being Spider-Man. So that whole kind of, I never liked that kind of trope in terms of telling love stories with heroes in general. I feel
You
like
you know
in this that annoys me with her personality.
you know something, we say that, but how many stories do we hear about guys who go fight in war and their girlfriends and wives cheat on them?
Yeah, I mean, you hear that unfortunately all too much.
Yeah,
All,
so I know it's like so annoying. It's just like, man, it's like you're dating Spider-Man. The guy's literally fighting, apocalypse level events, and you're upset that he doesn't have time to take you to the movies.
yeah,
And
like that gets frustrating. There's like, come on, dude. All right, at some point, be a little reasonable here.
yeah, and you say that, and then you just go like, yeah, and then on the flip side, like the story, the stereotypical story of a guy who was shipped out to like Iraq and watched his like buddies get blown up by IEDs, and he comes back and his wife's cheating on him.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's again all too often. But there's got to be some happy medium between the two styles. Somebody who's just like, all right, I'm a little aggravated, but I'm not going to hold it against you. Like, give me somebody in the middle of like those two, sides of that possible
The-
scenario.
yeah, but I think we also have to like consider that they're young.
Yeah,
Obviously
this
this
is
is
true.
early
This is true.
20s. you
And
know,
she's
Peter
focused on her
Parker.
career and all that too, so it is true. It's not the worst part of her character. I will say it's just always something that annoys me, and it does, to be honest, it gets worse in Spider-Man 2, especially when she becomes Scream, and the
Yeah.
entire fight, she's just, like, belittling you as Peter Parker, and it's like, "Dude, can you just stop? Like, this is so obnoxious."
Yeah,
So, in
you
fairness, I'm kind of applying a little bit of my dislike with where her character gets to in 2 to the beginning portion here, so that is fair.
yeah, I always I'm trying to say this very honestly, like, I liked her character in Spider-Man 1. I didn't mind it, you know, young person, they kinda go through that rocky relationship of like, "Well, you know, I love you, but I just can't be with you because it is killing me to worry about you," you know? Like,
Mhm,
they do kinda mention that in here, like, they kinda make her look like a stuck-up bitch at first, and then you kinda get more when you get later on into the storyline where she's, like they're starting to reconnect, and you just like, okay, you understand it a little bit more.
mhm,
They're young, they don't know how to express their feelings, they can't, you know, process this stuff that well, and it's easy to kinda just shit on Mary Jane where it's like, "Come on, he's Spider-Man," you know? Like, look at all the, like, insanity he's going through,
mhm,
and then it's just like, well, you know, also at home, it is, you know, gut-wrenching for somebody to just, you know, every day you see, like, this person do these heroic feats, and you can't do anything to help them or support them, and they can't, you know, let you in to support them, you know?
mhm. And I think that's fair, and I do agree. I would actually 100% agree. I think throughout the course of the game, she does get more understanding, and obviously they kind of end up back together. It's like they fix those issues. So I do agree that she does get better in the aspect of that
Mhm.
side of the little annoyance I had with the character at the beginning of the game. I just wish, I kind of just wish you would have seen a little bit more of like, I wish they told the story, I guess, in a way, or her story, a little bit more in a way of like, the reason we're not together is because I couldn't take not knowing if you were gonna come home. Like, almost like the wife who marries a cop or the girlfriend who dates a cop, and you always got that
Mhm.
worry of, "Are you gonna come home that day?" Or every time I hear the sirens or the news stories, I worry that it's you. I almost kinda wish they played it in that way, and that's why they couldn't, get along and couldn't keep it going. That love was still there, but I just couldn't bear those nights of not knowing whether you'd make it home or not. Or when I hear that such and such villain is rampaging through downtown, that I don't know if you're gonna, survive it or not. I just feel like that would have been a better emotional place to tell it from, and one that would have a little bit less of that kind of standoffish, kind of
Oh,
stubborn feeling that this way had. But I do
I
agree, regardless, they told it that way, and I do agree with you that it does get better as this game, goes on.
I also think it helps too because they made her more of an investigative journalist in this game.
Yeah, for sure. Which
You
I
know,
don't have
like,
an issue with that. I know some people didn't like that because I know
I
they
didn't
used
know
kind of
yeah, I
the
didn't
actress
understand why
version of
that.
her, but I didn't mind the kind of, like you said, investigative journalist side of it. I thought it was interesting. The
Be
problem with oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it kinda just does help, kind of establish her character a little bit more for being a little bit more headstrong.
Mhm,
Is just that, well, she has just as much of a sense of, you know, justice or investigation skills, you know, out there. Like, it does feel like she's trying to help in some way, shape, or form,
mhm.
especially considering that she can't be Spider-Man. So, it does feel like it is a little bit of her personality is coming through, where it's like, this is not just, you know, me trying to show myself, you know, to be a good reporter. It's just like, I'm trying to do something to feel like I also can contribute just like Peter does on a daily basis.
Mhm. No, and I 100% agree, and I do think that, telling her character in this way can establish that. My only or one of my issues with the idea of her being this investigative journalist and doing all these things is that, for me, I get the unfortunate feeling that they made that choice just to set up MJ missions more than they wanted to really tell that side of her or tell her story in that kind of way. I think it's more of a convenience that it kind of fits and gives her a little bit of agency in this world and how she can
Mhm,
participate not only in helping Spider-Man, but do her part in just helping New York in general. The side, like her work as an investigative journalist and exposing things, it's just to help the people. It doesn't even have to do with Spider-Man. But where those two worlds cross paths, is great for the two of them. It just feels like that crossing of paths is so forced in the sense of they just wanted to do these MJ missions for whatever reason they did. And that leads me to another point with MJ is that because I loathe those missions so much, it makes it so it's probably unfair to the writing of the character, but it does make it hard for me to like the character sometimes because I just get so annoyed when they force feed me those MJ missions.
I think you and I agree with the MJ missions are annoying. It is one of the big blight spots on this game. Just like, oh, I gotta sneak here, gotta do all this stuff. I gotta grab, brick and throw it and run away and hide. The only MJ mission I thought was good is when she's held hostage in
And the
the
trains
museum.
in the museum.
It,
That's I was gonna say I thought it was Grand Central Station for a second.
it could
Yeah,
have
with
been one or
like
the
the
other.
no, I think you're right. It's like some big expo room that has like the Osborne exhibit with all the Osborne stuff.
It
Yeah,
could have
that
been at
one's not
Grand
bad.
Central Station, the exhibit.
It may have. I can't remember. I just remember
I
it was
can't
this
remember either.
big, marble dressed room. I can't remember exactly where it was.
Yeah, and she's like telling Spider-Man, "Okay, go take this guy out and stuff like that." That one I did think was actually pretty decent.
Yeah,
That
it's not bad.
mission.
I think what helps it, to be honest, unfortunately, and I don't mean to continue to pick on MJ, it's really just the mission design. But I think what helps that one more than the others is the involvement of Spider-Man in it.
Mhm.
Having him work with her a little bit more in that one than say, like one of the ones that's awful is the two that stand out to me is the one in the beginning when she's in the Fisk Museum and you've got it like the very first one, I believe. That one is so painful. So it's when you first get the little Spider-Man like distractor beeping things that she throws and all that.
I hate those so much.
That one and then the Norman Osborn penthouse towards the end. God, those ones are brutally slow. And what annoys me about them is one, the gameplay is not like I like stealth games. We've talked about this before. I love
Mhm.
Splinter Cell. I've played a lot of the Assassin's Creed games. I genuinely enjoy stealth games, stealth gameplay, even if it's just a portion of a game. I love stealth stuff in games. The stealth gameplay in this is not fun whatsoever. It's crawl and hide and wait and throw. You crawl around, you wait for the guards to make their determined, pre-programmed routes of passage.
Huh? What was that?
Yeah, exactly. You throw the thing one way, they all go that way. It's not difficult. It's boring. It's poorly designed. There's no challenge to it. And the biggest issue to me is they tend to always, and they got to put them in somewhere. I get it. But I mean, I guess I shouldn't say they got it because they really didn't have to put these
Yeah,
in.
they
They
didn't
just
have to do
chose
that
to.
at all.
But since they wanted to put them in, they had to put them in somewhere. And every time, wherever they are, it always feels like it comes off the back of some fun gameplay where it just grinds the pace of the game to a complete standstill halt. And it drives me nuts every time. Like you're having fun, you're zipping through the game, fast-paced fights and development of story and character and all this stuff, and then boom, smacked in the face with an MJ mission. Everything grinds to a halt. Just get yourself through this crappy, slow mission, and then you can get back to having fun. The design of them and the placement of them is so bad that it makes me end up probably unfairly disliking the character in general and ignoring the good parts of what writing might be there for her.
No, I could get it. Where if a gameplay element ruins it, you can also get it to test a character.
Yeah, because it's like every time you see them, you just connect it to that crappy gameplay. Oh, she's back on screen. Good chance I'm going to have some of that, more of that MJ missions again, and that's kind of what it unfairly does. And again, I say unfairly, but like this, I don't know. It was their choice; they chose to do it, and it's just how I kind of how it hit me. And I don't want to say it's unfairly because it'd be unfair to me to not be able to express my opinion on it. So it's like, hey, you guys chose to do it this way. I'm just being honest. That's how it is to me.
Exactly. And I guess we'll kind of end this off with like the final character that has a moment in this story. I wouldn't say as big of one, but you kind of get the introduction. There you go, of him as well, and that is of course Mr. Miles Morales himself,
Yes,
aka
yes.
the other Spider-Man, who will pop up later as well.
Mhm.
So, what did you think about the introduction of Miles in this game?
So let me just start off by saying first, because I know this is usually a very controversial topic. I like Miles Morales. I got no issues with the character. I like him. If you don't like him, so be it. I don't care. You shouldn't care that I like him. It is what it is. I like the Spider-Verse movies quite a bit. That's kind of where I first got my real introduction to Miles myself beyond this game. I love the first movie. Think it's awesome. I really like the second movie. So seeing him in this game obviously was a clear sign that at some point Miles Morales was coming as a Spider-Man. I didn't know if it would be by the end of this game you'd actually get to see him as Spider-Man, whether it would be the next one. I certainly didn't think they'd be doing in between standalone games, so that was a pleasant surprise for me
Mhm.
to really, get to see him as Spider-Man. But I liked it. I think they handled the story with his father and his mother and all that really well. Obviously, the tragedy to his father, tying him to Martin Lee. Um, I mean, in terms of character design, voice acting, it looks and sounds like Miles to me, so I was all cool with that. Um, yeah, the story I think is the best part of it because I do think there's a lot of heart in that story of his dad, and again, it's a little bit of that Uncle Ben kind of setup, his version of an Uncle Ben to who puts that moral compass in him, what tragedy makes him want to be a hero, that kind of thing. But then also his mother plays, the Aunt May role, another guy, and you see that as his game goes on, and Spider-Man 2 as well. Um, she's a guidance for him. She's a moral rock. She's the moral North Star, however you want to put it. Um, so I like the parallels between the two characters, and I think the game story-wise handles all of his story pretty well. I will say he does also have a very slow MJ style type mission. It's I think he's got maybe one or two in the game. I can't remember.
I
I
think he
think
has
the first one.
one.
So he has the first one. I know he has the first one, obviously, when his dad and Martin Lee, the whole attack happens. But I'm
Mhm.
always positive later on when Silver Sable's crew is kind of taking over New York and setting up their bases and stuff. I want to say he gets another one, but I'd have to fact check.
Oh, what I think it is? If I recall correctly, he's running from Rhino.
Is that what it is?
I think I
There's
think that's
definitely.
the one,
Oh,
yeah.
you know what? I think you're right. I think it is running from Rhino because I remember
Yeah.
running behind like shipping containers or something.
Yeah, I vaguely remember this one. I
There's
try to
something
block
else
out those
I
ones,
could have
yeah.
sworn with him still in it too, and again, unfortunately, it plays like the MJ missions because these are regular humans doing very regular things in a game where you just want to be Spider-Man doing superhero things like
I
so.
do agree with you on
It's
that,
tough.
yes.
I think they handle the character well, but unfortunately, his gameplay in this is just as bad as the MJ gameplay. The one thing I will say is his first mission, the one where it is the attack on, I think maybe City Hall or in front of City Hall when they're giving his
Mhm.
father an award. Um, that one plays a little bit better just because the story portion of it is so intense, and obviously, what's going on with his dad, and he's about to lose him because of the attack. I think that all makes it play a little bit better because the story's so engaging at that point versus the MJ missions where the story's not very engaging. It's actually pretty dry and boring. So
Mhm.
that helps his first mission, I think, a good bit. But then, it's still not particularly fun. It's just slightly more interesting. And then, yeah, the other one is just, again, it's more of the MJ stuff.
Yeah, I like I said, I do think the Rhino mission actually felt a lot better per se. They didn't have to add it, but it didn't feel as suffocating as some of them. Like there was like
Yeah,
only
that's
2 of
fair.
those
A
ones
little
that
more
were okay.
action, right? So, yeah, that's fair.
Felt a little bit more urgent because it's like, okay, he's being hunted down by
Right.
Rhino,
Right.
you know.
Yeah,
At lea
I do think that's a fair take.
Yeah, but generally speaking, like I said, why they included these stealth missions, they didn't need to include them. They could have been a cutscene, you
Yeah,
know.
I would have been fine with that. Totally fine with that.
So I really don't know why they would do it. If I had a chance, I wish I could just like sit down and talk to the writers and be like, okay, what was the real reason that you guys added these in here? Just out of curiosity. Is
Right.
it that you were worried that people were just going to blow through the game too fast? Even though a lot of people I think really just in general like playing this game just to experience the mechanics of the
Mhm.
game.
Mhm.
Because I think this game actually has a really high platinum rate
Oh,
for
interesting.
PlayStation standards. So I'm curious if at first they were worried that people were just gonna blow through this game too fast because
Mhm.
of how fast paced it was, and they just didn't have confidence in their own work, which would be
Mhm.
interesting to me. Because I'm trying to look it up right now on my phone. Um, the completion rate for this game in terms of platinums, and if I recall correctly, last time it had a really high, I think like 20% or more platinum rate. So if that's the case, that's a huge amount of people. If you consider 20 million people bought this game and 20% of those got the platinum trophy for it, that's millions upon millions of people who played this game from start to finish, and they're like, I had to experience it all, in every way, shape, and form.
Mhm.
So I'm where is it right here? If you want to fill in there while I look in this, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it would be interesting to know exactly what the reasoning was behind these. Like, was I think you've got a point. Maybe it was the idea of just slowing the game down a little bit so people don't fly through it. But I just think that's such a silly way to try to do that, because it's like, okay, I understand wanting to slow the gameplay down again a little bit, at least to get the pace a little slower so people aren't flying through. But did you have to do it with something so boring and so unfun? Like, why couldn't you have just crafted more stealth stuff for Spider-Man himself? Something a little bit better in terms of just the action side of it, because again, stealth gameplay isn't necessarily action gameplay in that kind of sense. It can be action adjacent or even have action in it. Like, again, I always point to my Splinter Cell games. Definitely plenty of action in that. It's just slower paced. Excuse me, getting tongue tied. So to think that the only way they could have thought to slow the game down a little bit was to do it that way is just such a, like, man, where was the creativity? It's such a disappointment if that's the case. But the only other thing I can think of would be that they just needed to give something to these characters in this world, and the only thing you could have really, these specific humans do, with MJ not having powers and Miles not having his yet, would be something like sneak around and try to, do a little bit of investigative work, things like that. Like, I get it, but, like, again, was it worth doing if you were going to give them such boring gameplay that people generally hate? Like, I've really never heard anybody say I love the MJ missions. I feel like the most I've ever heard is they're tolerable. Yeah, they're whatever. I can play them to get to the next part. Like, doesn't ruin the game for me. It's like that kind of take. Like, I've never heard somebody be like, dude, those MJ missions, whew, those were something, man. Those were awesome. I really loved getting to those. Like, you never hear that. So if you really wanted to include these characters that badly and give them gameplay, why would you do it in this way that everybody essentially, not, okay, I can't say everybody, because maybe there are people there who like it more than others, but why would you do it in a way that's so widely disliked is what's so odd to me. Because again, you're almost going to do what you did for me, at least, and I'm sure it happened for other people, which was make me then just not really like the character as a whole, because I feel like every time I see them, I'm going to get some grinding gameplay that's just not fun. So I can't get my head around why and how they did those missions the way they did. And then you've got that example of, like, that dev from, I think, one of the lead devs who was like, yeah, we heard I think you have told me this quote that he said better than I can remember it, so I don't want to misquote him, but something along the lines of basically hearing the feedback on the MJ missions and being like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, we don't care. We made them.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to misspeak because I can't remember exactly what his quote was. I think you and I talked about it during one of my streams of the game, actually.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I referenced you telling me the quote, because I remember seeing the video and I couldn't remember exactly what he said, but I knew it had that kind of air about it where it was like, yeah, we heard you. We don't care. We're going to give you more. And it's just like,
Yeah. Yeah. I will, when we do the Spider-Man 2 episode, probably bring that up because it's been a long time, even though it was 2023. It's been over 3 years now. So I can't remember exactly that interview. I'll look for it eventually. But I also got my answer here. So I looked at my PlayStation percentage, and it's currently sitting at like a 8.3% completion rate for the Platinum Trophy for the 2018 Spider-Man.
wow.
But during its launch, it was sitting around 10%, which is really high. So like 1 in every 10 players was getting the Platinum Trophy.
Wow.
And it was actually for, the AAA studios, it was leading the charge compared to the other games like Horizon Zero Dawn, Second Son, Bloodborne, God of War, Uncharted, in players playing it to 100% completion. So it does show you that, like, players really were resonating with this game so much that they wanted to explore and do all the side missions and get the content. 1 in 10, especially if you go off of just, I think it said like 12 million people bought it by 2019. And it was sitting around that high. That's still a pretty impressive number,
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, it makes sense. Like I said, for me, it was one of the few games I have 100%ed or got a platinum for. I believe I got platinum for it.
Yeah.
Is the requirements for platinum for the game on PS4 just 100%ing it?
Like, you gotta do all the side missions, the base missions, the cop
Right.
missions, the Taskmaster,
Yep, did all
side
those.
missions, the Screwball, like, side missions. You know, it's just
Yeah,
basically just
I'm pretty positive I have the platinum for it. I'll have to double check just so I'm not a liar, but I know I 100% of the game. So if that's all the requirement is, then yeah, I've got the platinum for it. So and it
yeah,
makes sense 'cause I don't often platinum games. I just don't have the time to. So yeah, it makes sense that this one got a little bit more of it because it even got me to.
yeah. But that basically is just a good summary of the first events. You just kind of talk about the story a little bit more. So there's a gang that's running around there. I forget their name off the top of my head. I think they're called
Um, God, why can't
uh,
I remember it right now?
what are they called? Like the demons or something?
Yeah, demons something, or is it just the
Is
demons? God,
is
I'd
it
have
the
to look it up.
Oni? Was it like the Oni?
Let me look it up.
Yeah, look it up real quick. But basically, they're attacking the Osborne corporations. They're trying to take Fisk's turf and everything else like that. And then through Mary Jane's, investigation, they learn about this thing called Demon's Breath or Devil's
Uh,
Breath. Sorry,
the inner demons, I
the
think.
inner demons. Okay, I think I was close. I said the demons.
Yep, yep, you were right on the doorstep.
It was right there. It was just missing one word, but I'm impressed. I remember this much. All right. But yeah, you learn about this devil's breath, and you find
Mhm.
out that the Osborne Corporation has some ties to it, and you later find out it's basically a bioweapon that they've used before in some Asian country. If I recall correctly off the top of my head. Do you remember that much?
Um, I'm trying to remember the origins of where it was used. I know it's got the ties to Norman, obviously. Yeah, it was biological weapon. I can't remember exactly the country it was used in, but that kind of sounds about right. So I would take your word on it.
Well, I think it more so it begins. I think it's because Martin Lee, who is Mr. Negative in this game. I think it's because he was experimented on, and that's how he
Yes,
got his powers.
yes, by Osborne and Octavius.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly how. I think it was tied in with that whole Devil's Breath experimentation and
Oh
everything
wait,
else.
I think that was it, right? He was exposed to the devil's breath or something. And they were trying to find a cure. Is that what it was? Because I remember him having some kind of sickness. Because his parents were in the room, obviously, when the accident happens, when he
Right.
becomes the negative. And maybe that's what it was. He had been exposed to devil's breath. Because devil's breath, if correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't that have ties to Norman's wife's disease and Harry's as well? Isn't that part of why he's looking for a cure?
Yeah, this part I'm very fuzzy
I
on.
yeah,
So
and the sad part is I literally just finished this game like a couple months ago, so I can't believe I don't remember it.
yeah, so like this part of the storyline was there is. I know we're doing a terrible job selling on this game, but
I
the
know. Sorry,
storyline.
guys. My
So if you
mind
could
is just full of stuff all the time. I literally replayed this for the 100th time a couple months ago, and it's already like in one ear out the other.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to correct us later after the show, please, by all means, we're not perfect people. But there's something that happens with Norman's research, and it messes with Martin Lee. I think he kills his parents by accidents because of those
Yeah, like
powers.
the powers kind of manifest within this experiment. Doc Ock is kind of telling him like, "No, stop," and Norman's pushing forward because I think something. I'm pretty sure it's tied to his wife's disease and Harry's, and that's why he's pushing so hard on it because he wants to find the cure. And then it accidentally turns Martin Lee into Mr. Negative. Mr. Negative's powers go haywire right there on the spot, and it takes his parents in the process.
Yeah. So I kind of wanted to look this up real quick. So yes, it is tied to research that he was doing for his wife and his son.
Okay, thought so. God, at least I'm glad I at least remember that, seeing as I played this 100 times.
Yeah, it was accidentally created by him, and then it was used, I think, on some civilians and or something like that at least once, and that's where Martin Lee gets kind of brought into the picture as well.
Well, because it's really Martin Lee, I believe, who wants to, if I got it correct, who wants to expose the world, the city to Devil's Breath. It's not
Hmm.
Norman. Norman's just kind of caught in the middle of the Doc Ock stuff as well as the Martin Lee revenge stuff. So he's, and obviously he's highly tied to Devil's Breath. given
Yeah.
I believe they created it. So that's the idea. Is it's Martin Lee trying to release Devil's Breath as revenge to Norman Osborn.
Yeah, and it's also kind of played off too as well that Dr. Octavius is also involved in this as well. Because he kind of has, a big vendetta to him. He's still kind of getting screwed over. And his experimentation with like the tentacles, they do make note of it that because they're fusing into his column and do all that stuff, that it's affecting with his anger and his mood swings and stuff too.
Mhm.
So basically, you got all the confrontation with Martin Lee to stop him from releasing the Devil's Breath. And then, he gets sent to, I think, Rikers, if I recall, or not Rikers.
Is
It's
it the
something
Raft?
else. The Raft, that's it.
Mhm.
So he's sent there, and then eventually there's a giant prison riot there, and of course Peter has to go investigate, and that's where you start running into the rogues gallery of villains that you're going to fight for the major boss fights in here, with Scorpion, Shocker, Vulture, Rhino, of course, obviously Mr. Lee, and then of course the big reveal is after Peter gets his ass kicked by all of them, you find out that Doc Ock has finally become a giant super villain, and it's this video game's version of the Sinister Six is
Mhm.
also formed from it there too.
Mhm. Yep.
And the sad part is obviously they release the Devil's Breath, and it causes a giant, plague to hit New York City, where people are just getting affected and dying in mass. And ironically enough, this took place 2 years before COVID, so there's a little funny irony there too.
Yeah, that was interesting timing for sure.
Yeah. So they bring in obviously the Sable mercenaries to help
Mhm.
fight off obviously the inner demon gangs, as well as try to control the spread of the virus from infecting more people. And more people will eventually get it, and one of them is unfortunately Aunt May as well. And she's still working and trying to help people, while unfortunately she catches the virus and she kind of gets sick as well.
Mhm.
So the rest of the game obviously just becomes boss fights. And I will say this, kind of also another weak part of this game. The boss fights weren't super amazing.
Yeah, none of them really blow you away. I do like the last final one with Doc Ock. I think that's well done. Just kind of trying to run through them in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
The Scorpion, I think you take on Scorpion and
Scorpion, I
Vulture
think,
at
is
the
the
same
best
time.
one. Yeah.
That one's okay. Because I think it's at like an electrical substation where you take it. Oh
Mm-hmm.
no, sorry, it's Electro and Vulture that you take on at the same time.
Yeah.
Was it Scorpion and Rhino? Were they the two that you take? God, I'm
You
getting a little
you
confused now.
take on Scorpion and Rhino at the same time. You take
Right,
on
and
Electro and
then
Vulture.
right at that electrical substation. Those are okay.
But Scorpion
Uh,
has his own boss fight too, which I think was the
right,
best
the
one.
kind of almost kind of like in Arkham where they have the poison gas and you can't go lower than it. Arkham Knight. Yeah, they've got the green kind of scorpion venom, and you got to swing through between the platforms and all that in terms of the buildings and all that.
And
It was a
you're
good. It was kind of like a
hallucinating
fear.
too.
Yeah, it's kind of. I was going to say it's kind of like a fear gas type thing a little bit as well
It's like the
from the Arkham games.
scarecrow
Exactly.
boss fight. Yeah.
Right, right. It's got that fear gas vibe. Yeah, that was a good one. I actually kind of forgot about that one for a minute. That is a good one. I enjoy the Shocker one. I think it's in a bank or something. I forget exactly where it takes place, but
Yeah.
I do enjoy the Shocker one. It's all right. I think you're right. It's nothing to write home about. Like they're not super challenging, and it's nothing that you're gonna be like, "Woof." The boss fights are really what makes this game. But they're not awful. They're just nothing special. I would agree there. I do think the last one, the Doc Ock one, is pretty good, and the other ones are okay.
Yeah. I want to say that I like the costume design of some of them. Electro, I think, was pretty cool looking.
Mhm.
And I also think Rhino looked pretty good. I actually
Yep.
think I got the wiki pulled up here, so we can kind of get a good picture of these guys. So let's put them out there for people in case you didn't remember.
Scorpion suit's also pretty good. Oh yeah, that's right. He did go no mask in this. He's got the scarring to kind of make up that old mask that he used to wear.
Yeah.
The Scorpion suit's a good one too. The kind of mech suit type of thing. I like that.
Yeah. He kind of looks a little bit more like a infamous villain, I guess you could say. That's what he kind
Mhm.
of gives me the vibes of here. And I think over here, like you can see also Vulture as well
Yeah.
in this
Mhm.
game. Kind of looks good. I wouldn't say that it's like breaking the mold here, but I think it's actually a pretty good one.
Mhm.
Yeah, I brought up the wiki here just to always have
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
some people's. Yeah, let's look at the Scorpion as
Yeah, I
well.
really like the Scorpion suit. I thought this was good.
Yeah, this is a really good one. It feels nice, and apparently all these other ones are. I don't know what these are here.
It's just random images,
Just
okay.
random images. Yeah, the Rhino suit I think also was really good.
Yeah, yeah, this is a good one. Mhm.
Yeah, so I really did enjoy this one too. But I think the most aesthetically pleasing villain is the newcomer for the Sinister Six, and that was, of course, Mr. Negative, and I can't really seem to find a picture of Mr. Negative right here, which is weird.
Um, yeah, that looks
And
like
here he
this
goes.
okay, because I was gonna say the picture looks like him from the second game, but this is yeah,
Yeah.
this is a cool look.
Yeah, I do like the design for him, the black and white, obviously like a negative image. It's
Mhm.
a double on top pun there. And I think his boss fights were a little bit better per se.
Mhm.
They
Yeah, I like his actually. I like that it kinda takes you into his world and you get the big creature and all that. Like, I actually did like his boss fight a good bit.
Yeah, you fight like a big giant Oni creature, and then he
Mhm.
summons a bunch of other negative shadows, and you're trying to say like, "No, Martin, you're a good guy. What are you
Yeah,
doing?" It seems to be like a theme too. Is like good people that just become bad because bad things happen to them, and
right.
that's like the two big ones. Where you think first that Martin Lee is the main villain, and then of course it turns out to be Doctor Octavius is the
Mhm.
big reveal to it. But at the same time, like you knew, like even if you're not like a big Spider-Man fan, unless you were completely immediate,
Yeah.
like radio silent on anything Spider-Man, you eventually knew that well, Doc Ock is in this game, so of course you're going to have to hear something about him eventually, right?
Mhm. Right, yeah, you'd have to be kinda totally in the dark to not know that he was gonna be Doc Ock by the end of the game. I mean, they kinda beat you over the head with it too with the tentacle. As soon as it becomes a tentacle, if you haven't put 2 and 2 together there, then it's like, "Alright, you definitely are gonna be super surprised by this because you certainly have no idea what's coming."
Yeah, but kind of just there's not really too much in depth of the storyline to this game. After a while, it's just bad things happen, fight villain, and then you're kind of now under martial law in the final act, and I think you're not necessarily full on fighting the Sable guys, like the head on thing, but you're going into their, intelligence things to kind of stop them from being a complete, draconian lockdown squad in this game.
Well, and I do believe at one point it does get to, like, on site for them, where every time you even swing by them and they're on the rooftops, they'll take shots at you and all that, so I think as it progresses, it does eventually get to a point where they are basically enemies to you. They'll attack you.
Hmm. And the whole rest of this game starts to become okay. Now you're trying to find a cure for the Devil's Breath virus, and you're also trying to stop the Sinister Six. And Norman Osborn, he is starting to kind of be taken hostage at the end of this one by Octavius, and he's threatening to kill him, and then it kind of just starts to set up the final act where it's just like you stop it from happening, but you learn how to make the whole cure, the serum, and you get into the big final confrontation, and Octavius goes, "I always knew it was you, Peter,"
Mhm.
because
And
another thing. Go on.
no, 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 go ahead, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, like, there's another scene too that we kind of left out where Octavius does find Spider-Man's suit
Right,
at
right,
his lab, and then he kind of figures it out, but I think he kind of plays along. He's like, "Oh, you're helping Spider-Man." He's like,
right, right.
"Yes, yes, I'm helping Spider-Man. You're right."
That's exactly what it is.
Hmm.
Right. No, and I think the way that final scene with them plays out is from the cinema I mean, gameplay-wise, I think it's a lot of fun, but from the cinematic storytelling side of it, just think it's so well done. Again, a lot of heart there's a lot of different occasions where there's so much heart and emotion in this game. And I think that's a good one because like Peter's whole kind of thing throughout this, especially with Martin Lee, um, is the idea of, you know, bad things can happen to people, but it doesn't have to make you into a bad person. Like something bad happened to him in his life with Uncle Ben. It didn't make him into a bad person. He stayed on the right path because he had good
Yeah.
moral guidance and stayed a hero. And I think that's something where, you know, the thing with Martin Lee is a lot of, like you said, in that fight with him, it's a lot of talk of like, Martin, you're a good man. Like you know, you're better than this, blah, blah, blah. It's because he just wants to pull the good person back out of you. So
Mhm.
the fight with Doc Ock has a lot of emotion. One, because obviously they were good friends and he was a mentor and a role model to Peter, but also because Peter's realizing like, no, I think I might have lost this one. Like one of the ones I wish I could have saved, who I didn't even know needed me because I was so close to him and I kind of overlooked it type of thing. Being busy with, you know, saving the world, my good friend and mentor now got lost to a side that I might not be able to pull him back from. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of emotion in that, the way it plays out.
Well,
I also
it's like
go
he's
ahead.
becomes a second father
Yeah,
figure for
exactly,
Peter.
exactly.
You
And
know,
that's
he
something that's kind of, you know, obviously super important to him.
yeah, because he even though he was close with Norman's son, Harry, you know, and he was treated very well by Norman, you could tell he doesn't accept him fully as a father figure because of this shady stuff that he's done to
Mhm,
get power. Obviously, he lost his dad, he lost his uncle, you know, at a very young age, and he only had Aunt May, and you know, this was probably the only real you know, male role model that he had in his life of, you know, a guy who really looks like he wanted to do good in life, like he was
mhm,
going to change and save the world. And, you know, it turned out once again, you know, that the person that he probably trusted the most, that he thought he could trust the most, especially with the Spider-Man secret, turned out also to be, you know, one of the biggest betrayers probably in his life. Probably I would say the only other time where they, kinda mentioned, like, where Peter actually felt super betrayed was, working at the Daily Bugle,
mhm,
and, you know, Jo Jonah Jameson would constantly run his name through the mud and use his photos to do it, you know?
mhm, mhm. No,
So,
absolutely, I agree with that.
like, I think it hits a little bit harder, especially when, you know, he's laying down there in the rain and everything's going on around him, and he just is, like, screaming out, "Peter!" You know,
Mhm,
like,
mhm.
agonizing and, you know, like, and you can't tell if he's, like, there anymore. Because the another
Yeah,
thing too is you know that he's lost his mind.
mhm.
And as the audience and you kind of feel for Peter, he's like, what is that like a last gasp there? Is it a mental lapse? Is it a breakdown?
Is it manipulation? Is it him,
Yeah.
you know, playing on what he knows Peter wants to hear? And I'm glad you pointed that out because I think that's such a brilliant little part of that, you know, closing scene with them is that little bit of like that shine through of the inner person kind of coming through the crazy, so to speak,
Yeah.
of, you know, that almost remorse and that begging for forgiveness and like, Peter, don't leave me. Don't, you know, don't let me, you know, end like this
Yeah.
in terms of what he's going to now face for legal repercussions.
Yeah.
And then when Peter's just like has to make that hard decision to walk away and say, "No, I can't help you now," you see him kind of slip right back into that vengeful, spiteful, psychotic break version of Doc Ock.
Mhm.
That's like, ooh, that little balance of the two states of mind, I should say, not necessarily
Yeah.
ego. That little balance of them, which is really just a tug of war match between the two, and it's not being won very well by the sane and good side of him. You just
Mhm.
get that little bit of like, stop pulling the rope towards your side where you get to see him, and then right back the other way where he's back to, you know, the other side's way too strong at this point.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people also I think it should be pointed out like why I say like he's a father figure to him, you know, as a friend. He's like, Peter, you got to come to dinner with me and my wife. You know,
Mhm,
you gotta be here for us. I'm gonna, you know, Peter, you are like like my guy. You know, it's us against the world kind of deal. Yeah.
mhm,
Oh, you're working for I'm totally willing to help you, man. Spider-Man's like the greatest thing to happen to the city, and I'm so happy that you're doing something. You know.
mhm.
Is eh
Well, and I think what makes it even more of a situation like a that I guess kind of I should say almost remixes that little bit of a stand-in father figure scenario is he's absolutely that for Peter, but he's also Peter's idol. So like imagine being in Peter's shoes where you've idolized this guy, you've idolized his work, you've read all of it, you've studied it, you've gotten to science because of him type of thing. And then you get to know him, and then you get to meet him, and then you get to work for him, and then you become so close that he feels like not only just a mentor, a father figure. Imagine the heartbreak that goes into finding that you feel like you failed him as surrogate son or as a great friend, in the sense of you let him slip to a side that's just so not him because the work he was doing just got the better of him. It's that bit of like you can just feel how emotional that's got to be, given how much more it means to him that his idol is what became his kind of surrogate father or father figure,
Well,
and then it ends the way it does.
well, it's like he's got to see like the metaphorical third death of another father.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, and this one's like just made so much worse, I think, because there is no life after like his father. I don't know about Spider-Man's lore. Does his parents die or do they disappear?
So in what I know, they're dead. I know the Amazing Spider-Man 2 kind of did a disappear, everybody assumed dead, really like secret spy something or other type of thing. I don't know how comic accurate is that. That was the first time I had seen that. So
Yeah.
from what I know, he's just an orphan, and his aunt and uncle take him in.
Yeah, because I always get that their disappearance confused with Hey Arnold's parents.
Yes, yeah, that is a hilarious reference. Yes,
I don't know
that's
why.
true. That's true. That is the case for Hey Arnold's, and his grandparents take him in. So there's a parallel there.
Yeah, so it's just like I always get those two mixed up. It's like they die or they disappear, like Arnold's parents into the mystical
I've
jungle.
still never seen the Hey Arnold movie, so I don't even know how that story closes out or plays out. Because I believe they go into it in that. I thought at least, and I have no idea how the story plays out. I should actually watch that one day.
I should too. They're also thinking about doing a reboot of Hey Arnold, but this isn't a Hey Arnold
I just
show.
saw that. I'm like, ugh.
To be determined. This is not a Hey Arnold podcast.
Yeah, sorry. The 90s kids just kind of jumped onto the podcast for a second there.
Yeah, so it was a reference that I often get confused with my mind. So there you go. Like I get Stefan Molyneux and Peter Molyneux mixed up all the time, and I go, those two are completely different people. But get back on track here. But yes, it's just like another blow to Peter Parker, where it's just like, how much can one man just like constantly lose that like idol, that father figure in his life?
And at what point do you start to feel like it's you? Like, you know what I mean? The natural grieving process would for anybody would be, is it me? Is it everything I touch? Is it something with me that this keeps happening? So it's just, there's a lot of weight to it.
But to kind of like wrap up the storyline too, and this is like one of the reasons why I get so livid at Spider-Man 2, but we won't go into Spider-Man 2 so much on this one. But he gets the vaccine, he's beat to hell, and he's going to just see Aunt May in the hospital, and he sees Aunt May, and she's like on her, basically her hospital bed, and she's not doing good. She's basically losing the fight against the devil's breath. And he goes in there and she sees him and she's like, "Oh, Peter, I always knew you were Spider-Man," and gives him like this big emotional breakdown of how she's like super proud of him and that he's turned out to be a wonderful guy, and that she hopes that everything kind of works out for the better. But she's basically accepting that it's her time to go, and you see that moment, that like would probably destroy everyone. Like you see your mom dying right in front of you, and you have the cure to save her, and you want to save her so badly, and he just like he almost jabs it right into her IV, and he just stops, and you just feel that like emotion. You see it on his face. You just see the breakdown, and you just know like he goes like, I can't. I really want to, but I can't. I can't sacrifice the millions of people in New York City just to save my mother figure, my mom, the woman who raised me, probably the only woman that you will ever like have unconditional love for.
Mhm.
just that, and just he has to watch her die
Mhm.
is probably one of this one of the saddest scenes I think in video games for me, and probably what really helps drive this, as like one of the best superhero stories out there home, where it's just Peter, even though he loses so much, he can't, you know, stop being the hero just to save a little bit of, his own personal happiness.
Mhm. No, absolutely. I think that was wonderfully said, in terms of, summarizing not only what happens, but the impact of it. Because you're spot on. It is that impossible choice. It's the one he knows he has to make. But I mean, my God, how difficult would that be? You're literally, a centimeter away from saving one of the most important, if not the most important person to you in your life, but you can't do it. You can't do it because you have to, give that to the people of New York, that other they're the millions of people who've been affected. It's the unselfish choice that's incredibly difficult to make. And again, that idea of like it's got to be tough as a hero in the first place when people close to you get hurt or you lose them, because it's like, man, of all the powers I have, all the abilities I have, all the people I've saved, I couldn't save that one, one that meant the most to me.
Yeah.
So having that side of it with just, I'm sure that's something his character deals with regularly in terms of,
Mhm.
the loss of Uncle Ben. I would imagine in this story, he's got his powers when he loses Uncle Ben. We don't know that for sure, but I think that's
Yeah.
typically how it goes. So I would imagine he has that in this story as well. So again, that case of like, I had the power to stop it, to save him and I couldn't. This is a kind of amplified version of that, is like, not only did I have the power to maybe stop all this before it happened, I didn't. Now I have the cure literally in my hand and I can save her, but I can't. And that's gotta just be, I mean, God almighty, that is a choice that nobody should ever have to make. It would be brutal.
It is brutal. It puts weight to the storyline,
Yeah, absolutely.
you
Absolutely.
know, and we have all the characters lose some people, along the way. Miles loses his dad,
Mhm.
you know. Well, Peter loses pretty much everyone, his father figure and his,
Yeah, I mean, literally.
motherly figure too,
Mhm.
you know.
He had already lost MJ, so I guess the one silver lining is that he gets her back by the
Yeah,
end.
he gets her back. That's the plus side at least. She comes around and goes, "Yeah, maybe I was being a little bitch. Who knows?"
Yeah. Literally.
But yeah, that's why I said this. Unlike the other Batman games, where I think that they're just more fun and you can have a great time playing the Batman games, the story doesn't feel as weighty per se as it does here. Like Arkham Asylum, like let's go with Arkham Asylum.
Mhm.
It feels brutal, but it doesn't feel like at the end of the day there's too much that you have to like that emotional like failure. Like, oh, if Batman failed, it doesn't feel like it has the emotional weight.
Right. It's just, yeah, Gotham goes down, and it's like, whatever. Not whatever, but it's like, the idea behind it is if Batman fails, the city loses.
Mhm.
This is a case of, and this I think speaks to, and so I guess let me just say, I do think the Arkham game stories are good and well written, but they're just very superhero stories. They're good guys got to beat the bad guy by the end of this. That's what they are. And that's not to diminish them. That's not to kind of make them feel more simple than they are, because I think specifically Arkham City tells a phenomenal story in that kind of sense of storytelling. But the thing about this game specifically, for Spider-Man, is that it's got so much relatability and emotional impact at a human level beyond the superhero stuff, beyond a superhero story. It is a human story in a lot of ways. And that's what makes it, I think, feel so much heavier in terms of the weight of everything going on in it. You know, that's something that I think also speaks to Spider-Man as a character, because I believe that he was always designed to be the most relatable superhero. That
Mhm.
Stanley, I believe Stanley has said before, the reason, he's one of the few heroes that's covered head to toe in suit is so that anybody can picture themselves as them. You see Superman's face, you see at least part of a lot of these superheroes' faces, even if they've got, their jaw kind of exposed from their mask, or it's like a Green Lantern where it's just their eyes are covered. But you see so many of these heroes as who they are, just with slight masks. In this is one where you see nothing. So it's the idea of anybody can be him, and he's also got to be relatable in terms of the struggle. He doesn't have millions and billions of dollars. He doesn't have all, living a double life isn't all that easy. He's got
Mhm.
a job. He's got to make rent. He's got to make relationships work. He's got to somehow squeeze in school and college and all these things. it's a very relatable person who just happened to be bit by a radioactive spider and have these powers. So he's always meant to have been a more relatable character. And I think that's something that Insomniac and the writers really embraced when telling the story. Because you're right, it does feel so different than any of those Arkham games. And it's not to say the Arkham games aren't well written stories. It's just this one has such a human side to it that those games
Yeah.
don't.
On top of that, too, I think we'd be remiss because I just remember this too. To go back to the Doc Ock a little bit earlier, he starts to emotional manipulate everyone in the Sinister Six as well. Do you remember that?
I'm trying to remember how they all come together. I remember them coming together after the raft, but no, you're gonna have to actually refresh my memory on that. I can't remember at the moment.
So there is a part where you go to their hideout and you
Oh,
find
that's right. You find all the ways he's been researching them and figuring out the kind of buttons to press. Yes, yes.
yeah, like offering a vulture a cure for his cancer.
Right, right.
Offering
One of them was
Rhino.
like their daughter, something for their daughter or something.
Yeah, and like Rhino was to get him out of the suit. And he basically said he had no intention of ever doing any of that. But it does kind of play into that part where we're talking about at the end. We don't know when, Otto fell, but we do know that it does seem to have been a plan that was a lot longer in play than even Peter realized. And how long was he exactly emotionally manipulating all these people around by trying to fill their deepest desires, and even Peter himself,
No, that's a great point. And I actually kind of completely forgot about that little bit.
I did too, and it like clicked on me when we were talking about that stuff. And like,
Mhm,
well, it isn't just Peter doing like everything he can to just do the ultimate good. Is like you also see the duality with Otto, where he's trying to do everything he can to just get his revenge, and it doesn't matter what promises he makes because he never has a plan to actually fulfill them.
right.
So it's a little bit better. Like I would say, like Arkham City, Asylum, all those games, they have like good twists, I guess you could say,
Mhm,
where you don't see them coming, but
mhm,
at the same time, Spider-Man, like if you know anything about Spider-Man, like okay, you know what the twists are probably going to be, but they do a good job at fleshing them out so that even though you know that they're predictable, you look at it and you go, oh well, this is a nice little fresh coat of paint. This is a nice little change of
mhm.
pace.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I think, personally, I think that's what adaptations should, try to do. Sometimes I know things want to try to do one for one as much as they can. But sometimes in a case like this, I think it is, there's so many Spider-Man stories that people have heard that it's not a bad idea to try to give them a little bit of a facelift or a fresh coat of paint, as you said, to just change it up, to keep it to its core of what it should be, but change it up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Um, I want to like say too, this was probably one of, if not the last, I want to say cameo that we will ever get of Stan Lee as well.
Yeah, that's right. He is in it, and it would have been 2018, and he passed away in. Yeah, he did. I believe he passed away in November of 2018 because I remember, oddly, not to chuckle, but I just remember weirdly enough, I was down on a trip in Nashville when I heard about it, and that was November of 2018.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. Yeah, he did. You're spot on, perfectly
Yep.
timed.
I remember why. Again, I don't mean to chuckle. I just remember because it was such weird timing. Of I was going to a Pats game down in Nashville, and they were playing the Titans. And I remember we were all back at the Airbnb, and someone was like, "Dude, Stan Lee just passed away." I was like, "What?" And it's like, "Yeah, Stan Lee passed away. Wow, it's awful."
It's still wild to think that he's been gone for 8 years.
Yeah, I know. God.
It's crazy. He was 95, so if he would have lived
Hey,
to,
God bless him. 95.
he would have been
That's
103 this year.
jeez. Imagine.
I know. Godspeed, Mr. Lee. But
Absolutely.
I thought it was a very nice one. He
Yeah, it
plays
is.
the
Mhm.
it was like a pizza shop owner. He is like Pete's,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
he's
it's
like,
when he and MJ are there. I can't remember the name of the restaurant, but I believe it's after we see him after him and MJ go there. I
mhm.
thought at least. Mhm.
Yeah, and you see him there. He gives them their food, and then as they're leaving, he's like, "I always like you two together."
Yeah, yeah, it's a nice one.
I think it was one of the the better Stan Lee cameos that we got. Number 2, if you ask me. Number 1 is still him being the strip club DJ in Deadpool.
Yeah, that's a friggin'
That is the
awesome one.
best one, man.
That one's so good.
I remember watching that in theater. It was like, no way. This is great. Yeah, but definitely it was this did feel like a love letter to Spider-Man. Obviously, there's
Absolutely.
was it perfect? No. Very few video games you can argue are perfect. In fact, I can only argue for one of them being a example of a perfect video game. So that says a lot because I played so many video games, but Spider-Man, 2018 was very well received. It was nominated for many Game of the Year awards. It was one of the finalists for Game of the Year at Keeley's, the DICE Awards, and of course the Golden Joysticks. I would say those are like the top 3 video game award shows that you should follow. But it didn't win a lot of awards per se. I think Yuri Lowenthal actually won a lot of the awards that year for his performance at different outlets. But it was just a very solid game. I didn't like the DLC, though, because I felt like the DLC just sucked. I just
I'm
felt
going to
like
be
it
honest,
was
I can barely even remember it. I played it once, and I've played this game multiple times, beginning to end. I haven't 100%ed it every time I've played it, but I think I only did the DLC once because I wasn't that thrilled with it. I wasn't that happy with it, satisfied, however you want to put it. I remember it being a Black Cat and a Hammerhead DLC. I remember a lot of the Hammerhead DLC. I think he had taken out a few of Yuri's cops, and she felt guilty about it. And then that's kind of why she's so angry at him. And I honestly even forget how it ends. I just kind of remember with her kind of running away from essentially the life on the force and all that. And then we see her become a
she eventually
vigilante
resigns.
too. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like vague plot points. I don't remember the details of it.
I think it's more so like Felicia. She kind of manipulates Peter by saying that he could be a dad. That's like one of the big plot points in there.
God, I'm struggling to remember anything about the Black Cat DLC now, to be honest with you. I remember
I remember a little bit of this. Like I played
that
it only
sounds
once.
familiar. Yeah, that sounds familiar, but I don't think I played it since it actually got released because I played through it once and just didn't care for it.
So I remember I vaguely remember the story elements of it. So it's like Black Cat's on a run from Hammerhead. She tries to manipulate Peter by suggesting that she's the mother of his kid.
Okay. All right. This is ringing a bell now.
So that's in there. Something about Yuri being pissed off at Hammerhead, who is another generic crime boss, who really is. He's like, there's Bud Light, and that's like Wilson Fisk, and then Hammerhead's like Miller Light, the watered down version of
Natty
him.
Light.
Natty Light. No, let's get like really
Keystone, maybe Bush.
Old Milwaukee, old style. What's the Boston equivalent of old style? Like the local beer.
Our local one would be a Sam. Like the most mainstream local one would be like a Sam Adams, which I'm not a huge fan of. But yeah, it'd probably be.
Is this some like
a 40 something like crappy,
some Irish 40-ounce beer that they sell at the bodega over there? some bullshit like that.
Yeah, I'm sure there's one somewhere. I just go to all the college days beers, the Natty Lights, the Keystones, the Bush, and all those awful ones.
I forget the UFC fighter. He's just like he would just eat like protein that looked like crap, and they would be like, "How can you eat that stuff?" He's like, I don't eat for flavor. I just eat for performance."
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that was just I don't drink
for the taste. Just drink for the performance.
I just drink to get drunk. But like the ending, I just remember this one because it's so fucking stupid. All right, it's so fucking stupid, and he becomes a robot. Like,
my God, that's right. God, I gotta at least watch a YouTube video. So I don't think I'm gonna take the time to play it. I gotta skim through a YouTube video of this DLC because I'm remembering these little bits and pieces. But God, it was so long ago that I played it, and now that you're saying this, I remember that this is why it was so long ago that I played this. I forgot about the robot. That's right.
It was so bad. Like it starts out good. Like it feels like the Black Cat missions were cut. And because when Spider-Man 2 came out, there was a little bit of an uproar that the DLC was going to come out so quickly after the game came out, and that's when
For
we got the
Spider-Man 2?
yeah, no, for 2018 Spider-Man.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying 2. Yeah.
No, you're fine. So there was a little bit of uproar for it, and then the first story comes out and it's heavily focused on Black Cat and everything else like that.
Mhm.
And then it just becomes like a generic revenge story of Yuri, like, no, don't do it. You gotta be better than them. You're not them.
Yeah.
And then it's like, surprise, I'm a giant mech now. I'm the king of and I'm like, this is the dumbest shit ever.
Yeah. Not good. Not good. Now that you mentioned, I totally forgot about the robot version of him until you just mentioned that. That is, oof, that was not great. I can look up a picture of it too because I have a memory of what I think it looked like in my head, and I just want to see it actually.
Yeah, robot Hammerhead.
Yeah. Well, I think what you point out too about the Yuri thing kind of being, just a generic thing. It's like, one, yes, it's a little bit generic, but two, we've kind of already. That's right. Oh my god, that's awful. That is
It's so
awful.
stupid.
Holy crap! Because he took Saber Tech gear or
Yeah.
Silver Sabers group their gear. Oh my god, what were they thinking with this?
This looks like a rough sketch of RoboCop. This,
I mean, literally, of like somebody trying to reboot it in an animated form and just not really
Yeah.
knowing how they want to do it.
like
It
this
looks like Frankenstein, but a robot because he's got such a square head. I mean, Hammerhead should have a square head, but
Mhm.
like this, it looks awful. Oh god,
Yeah.
I totally forgot about this.
Yeah, this was one of the dumbest things about the video game for sure. And it was optional, so luckily they made sure to cut this shit and then
Yeah,
to be like,
fair
we're gonna
enough.
milk them later on.
Yeah, for this crap.
Oh,
But
my
to the point
goodness.
about the Yuri thing, yes, it is a little bit generic, and on top of that, it at least fits with kind of the theme of Peter in this story because a lot of what he's doing is trying to pull people back from being on that edge and coming back to being a good person. He does it with Martin Lee, tries to do it with Otto. So it's like you've already done it a couple times in the story, and you did it really well. We want to give you credit for that. But now you're doing it again for this character, and you're doing it in a really generic, boring, crappy way with this ridiculously goofy version of Hammerhead. It just falls so flat.
It does feel like a Saturday morning episode of Spider-Man cartoon. Just
Yeah, like goofiness and silliness and a little bit of camp and just completely unbuyable in terms of like the rest of the game, which feels like it's got that verisimilitude of it feels real within the world that's been established. This just feels like goofy, superhero stuff where you're just going to have a nice message at the end of it of why you should stay on the good side and not be a bad guy. And it's just not. Again, I'll be honest, I do have to skim through the full details of it again because I've forgotten so much about it. But you just refreshing my memory with those few plot points was like, wow, yeah, it was not very good.
listen, it was memorable to me because of how fucking stupid most of it was.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Understandable.
That's the little difference there. Like I said, start out good, quickly went down to zero.
Mhm.
I honestly think Marathon had more lifespan to this game. All right, through their game than what this DLC had to me. But I will give Peter Parker credit. He actually got one win. He actually did save someone from becoming a villain. So
Yuri in that?
yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, she does become a vigilante, I guess. Not technically a villain, but yeah, he does pull her back from the edge. That's true.
She doesn't kill him, so
Right.
he gets one win.
He does get that win. That's true. He does.
Just gets one win. He couldn't save Aunt May. Octavius is still insane and in jail, but at least he saved the police girl. So yay!
Yeah, that's something. Hey, like Aunt May says, you help one person, you help them all.
Yeah, it just
I don't know
took
how much you helped her because you kind of sent her on a journey of ending her career and becoming a vigilante and all that. So I don't know if it was the greatest help, but you definitely helped her to some degree.
Yeah, but at least now she doesn't abuse her power and just kill
True.
criminals. She doesn't
That is
become the
true.
Punisher. There's a
Yeah,
plus.
that's true. Fair
She
enough.
could have became the Punisher. But yeah, there's other stuff, miscellaneous stuff that we didn't really talk about, like Silver Sable. We didn't actually talk about her.
Yeah, I liked her inclusion in it. I thought good character model, looked good. Fairly well voice acted. I do think there's a little bit of annoyance with how much she's like not even not willing. She's combative with Spider-Man.
Super combative.
Yeah, like that gets a little bit annoying, but eventually they, as you'd expect, iron their things out, work together a little bit. But overall, I do think, what I like about her inclusion is I do like the kind of camps that they had to. I think one was in like Central Park. One that I remember at least vividly was a big Sable camp in Central Park that you kind of go through and do a mission there, a mix of stealth and combat. That was fun. I do like their presence around the city as just more enemies that are after Spider-Man and give you a little bit of a challenge. I will say I absolutely hate the ones that are on jetpacks. Those guys are so annoying to fight, like horrifically annoying. Because they've
Incredibly.
got these little like what's those things that wrap you up like as a bola? Is that the proper term? Like those things you kind of throw at somebody and it wraps around them so they can't move. I think it's called like a bola. I'm almost positive because I remember in the game Ark Survival Evolved, you could make bolas for the animals. So I think that they had these big like electrical stun versions of them that just drove me nuts.
Yeah, they
Plus,
have like
they're flying
nets and
around.
stuff like that kind of
Yeah,
deal.
like that kind of deal, basically stuff to essentially web up Spider-Man, no pun intended. So that those jetpack guys were super annoying, but I did like she had snipers all over the city that if you swung by them, they'd take shots at you, and they'd have other guys with them if you like stopped to fight them. So their presence among the city, I thought, was just added for more combat and just more fun to play.
Yeah, and we got Marvel. Sorry, I gotta read. Marvel, Ike, I'm not going to even try. Mr. 6765 saying,
works.
yo, hello. And he's got the little Teen Titans Go cyborg as his
nice.
avatar. Hello. Booyah. Teen Titans Go, very underrated. I will say that.
I never got too into it, but I did love the original Teen Titans run from when I was a kid on Cartoon Network. I do got to give Go a try at some point, though.
I thought it was funny. It's not, once you acknowledge that, look, it's not what you love, the Teen Titans like anime style, and it's more geared towards being cartoony funny, and it's got like that meta commentary. You can accept it and move on. By the way, what difficulty did y'all use? That is a good question. What difficulty did you play on?
I always played on the hardest. I think even the first time I played it, I did hardest difficulty. I definitely did my New Game Plus and my replays on hardest. So maybe I did the first one on normal, but I'm almost positive I did the first one on the hardest difficulty. Is it ultimate? Okay, I see Marvel just put in the chat ultimate.
Yeah,
I couldn't remember exactly what they called it, but yeah, I always do the hardest one.
Yeah, I also did the hardest difficulty on my second playthrough, and then I just stuck with it going forward. The only one I know I didn't do. Miles Morales, you actually had to beat twice to get the platinum trophy.
Oh, really? Oh, I think I'm going to be honest. I think I only beat that one once. I don't know if I've replayed that one yet.
That one I actually
I
liked.
wouldn't have gotten it. Oh, well, I know you wanted to do that one later. I actually really liked that one, to be honest with you. So that'll be a fun one to talk about. Hopefully, I'll actually get the chance to totally replay it by the time we decide to talk about that one too, just so I can be a little bit more fresh on it. But I remember enjoying it. My big complaint with it, honestly, was that it was just a little too short.
Oh, it was super short.
I wanted more of it. It felt kind of like a glorified DLC, and I just wish there was more of it.
Yeah, you know what's funny about the Miles Morales one? I can tell you exactly how long it takes to beat that game. One football game.
Oh, yeah, I'm assuming you played it over the course of one.
Yeah, so what happened was when Miles Morales came out, it was during COVID. And it was Thanksgiving. And we couldn't go because my wife got exposed to someone with COVID. And my mom, she was immunocompromised. So, we couldn't go there. We had to miss Thanksgiving and everything else like that. Because that's when everyone was still worried about it,
the height of it all.
Yeah. So what happened was, I was watching, I think it was the Houston Texans and Detroit Lions. That was the early game that year. So I just had it on my phone and I was just playing Miles Morales because I was actually super enjoying it. And then I beat the game and I was like, if I just don't do any of the side content, this is how long the game is, huh?
Yeah, go figure. Yeah, it's a short one, unfortunately. I do wish there was more to it, but if you do enjoy the character, you do get to play as more of them in the second game. So
we do have Discords, but I don't know why you would ask that question. I don't think we're kind of like interested in giving out some. We don't have like a real fan one, if that's what you're asking. We just have personal ones. That's how we message each other.
Yeah, basically. One thing I will say though about the ultimate difficulty in this game, gotta be honest, not a super difficult game. I don't think in any aspect. Sometimes you get a little bit overwhelmed by a lot of enemies at once, and I'm
Mhm.
not saying I perfect ran it or anything, no hits, but not an overly difficult game even on its ultimate setting. Especially if you go through the second runs as New Game Plus and you got all your gadgets and all that,
Mhm.
it really makes it. It's not a breeze, but it's difficult enough where it's still challenging, but it's just like always a fun playthrough. At no points outside of maybe the MJ missions for me do you really get aggravated with the game of like, oh crap, I got to do this part again. It's wicked hard, and I don't really care
Yeah.
for it. It's like no, it's all fairly easy to get through.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. It I feel like it's like when you play Infamous or something, open world games, they don't feel as difficult. That's the
Mhm.
best way I can say it, because you have the ability to kind of run away and hide and kind of also
Yeah, come
cheese boss
back and
fights
mhm.
versus like more linear games, like the difficulty feels more suffocating because you don't necessarily always have that ability to
Right,
do all that
right.
stuff.
Mhm.
So, that's just my 2 cents up here as my dog has decided to bark at me for some reason, so, um, MJ Mishing is so boring, not gonna lie. Yeah, we were just talking about that one earlier. You kinda joined early. We did talk about, that too. If you wanna go back and listen later,
Yeah,
because
we
we're
we
getting
talked about it at length. Yeah, there was a good portion of it.
yeah, because we're kinda getting ready to wrap this up a little bit because I think there's, like, too much more that we can really cover, to be honest with you.
Um, no, I mean, I think the only thing we didn't talk about, at least narrative wise, is the one kind of big surprise at the end of the game, which is the reveal of Harry. And because the whole story, we're told that Harry is
In Europe.
yes, in Europe, receiving treatment for his medical issues, and it turns out we get the big reveal kind of post credits. Was it post credit? I can't remember if it was or not, but
Yeah,
at
it
some
was like
point
the
in the end,
Marvel, like, "Oh, one more thing," you know?
yeah, right. That's what I thought. You see that bit of him Norman in his little secret lab in his penthouse
Mhm.
talking to the big tank that MJ wasn't able to see into earlier, and you see that it's Harry in there. And then all of a sudden, you see the Venom symbiote tendrils just stick to the glass as Norman puts his hand up to it, and that's kind of the big cliffhanger for what comes next in the second game.
Yeah. Oh, also, this is a good one. I think is actually pretty good. Also, what suit is your favorite, you 2? That is a good one. We didn't talk about that part as well. The
Mhm.
suit design in this game was actually pretty off the chart, and I
Yeah, and
think
there's
there
a
was a
lot.
lot of great ones. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot in general. So like kudos to them for just supplying the players with a whole ton of options. But
And
there's
they each
also
have,
a
like,
lot of
different
really good
powers.
ones.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
each do.
that I love too, in the ability to mix match them. You
Mhm.
didn't have to use any certain power in any certain suit. You could take one from one suit and put it on another one that you're wearing, which was awesome.
I did like the undies suit. This part
it
did
it
make me
was a
laugh a
funny
lot.
joke. Yeah.
Yeah, and that one you get from, after the Scorpion, mission.
So I actually love the vintage comic book suit. The cell shading on that looks phenomenal. Oh god, I love
Yeah,
this
it
one.
did
This
look
was
really
this was a
good.
really fun one to use.
I did like the, Mr. Negative suit as
Yep,
well, the
that's a
Fear
good one.
itself suit.
Mhm.
I love the design of this one,
I
especially in 4K.
The gauntlets are the only thing that get me a little bit, but I do love the rest of the suit. The gauntlets are just a little too bulky for me.
I can see that one too. I like Spider-Punk. I thought Spider-Punk was
Yeah,
pretty
this
good.
is a good one. I do like this one. Mhm.
But I think the suit I used the most, I used Noir suit a lot
Mhm.
because I did like that, black and, like, retro style too. Oh, this was the Negative suit, sorry.
Yes, that's the Mr. Negative suit. Well,
I
yeah,
like that one a lot,
mhm.
but no, my personal favorite, I think, was Spirit Spider.
Oh, I didn't use this one too much, but it was an interesting one.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
know. The way that it looked with the flames and everything, I
yeah,
thought
it
that
is it is
it
pretty
was really
cool.
cool.
I like obviously I love the Toby suit, the Toby Maguire suit. Um, I did like the Tom Holland suit. I thought that was a good one as well. So essentially the movie suits I like, except for the Amazing Spider-Man suit. I hate that suit in the movie, and I hate it in this game. I think that's an awful Spider-Man suit.
Yeah, it looks like, the Temu costume that you get.
Oh, it's awful. I did like, yeah, this is another one of the movie suits. I liked it. What's the one I'm thinking of now? There was the classic suit that he starts the game off with. I think that looked good too. The
Mhm.
bombastic Bagman suit, the
Oh,
Fantastic
Bombastic
Four suit.
Bagman was a really good one,
So
yeah.
the mask is obviously funny, but this is a great Fantastic Four suit. I think this Fantastic Four suit in general looks awesome. If they decide to make a Fantastic Four game, use these suits. Looks great. So I do love this one a lot too.
Yeah. Now this one is actually a comic book reference I do, get.
Yeah. And
Because
Marvel says he liked the anti-ox suit. That's actually another good one. The black with the white, black with the yellow. That is also a good suit. I do like that one quite a bit.
yeah, it does kinda also feel like a armor suit as well.
Yep. There's a
Yeah.
lot. There's a lot of really good ones. I would say I probably defaulted to the Tobey Maguire suit quite a bit just because that's like my Michael Keaton Batman for like people from the 80s. That's just my favorite version of him and I love it. So I use that one a lot. But I cycled through quite a few of these.
Yeah, I like the more shiny suits, like the
Yep.
Iron and
Mhm,
Spider suit. I
mhm,
think that's one's pretty cool. It's also just like finding like the really good powers and like what works with you. Like, the 2099 suit, the throwback there to
mhm,
Edge of Time and everything else like that. The Velocity suit I thought was pretty cool because I like this spider design. I like this color scheme a lot.
mhm. I like how it kind of like the legs of the spider flows all the way down to the legs of himself and like kind of
Mhm.
out the arms. It's a cool look.
It's also the color. It's like a teal
Yeah.
green,
Mhm,
like a aqua blue, and then it's mixing in with like a darker blue, and then obviously like the more chrome red. Really cool designs. The one thing about this game, I think it was a lot better in this one, to be honest with you, than it was in Spider-Man 2. I liked my favorite suit is actually a Miles Morales suit. I think it's in here. Uh, nope, it's not into this one. But yeah, Miles Morales, I think, has my favorite one because purple's my favorite color. So when he
mhm.
gets the Prowler spider suit, that's my favorite
Oh
one.
yeah, yep. That's a cool one.
Yeah,
That's definitely a cool one.
it's definitely, my favorite Spider-Man suit overall, just because of I'm a biased person who likes the purple. But yeah, that's just it. But yeah, there's the suit designs, and I did enjoy that they put a lot of the ones in here and the references to, different comic book stuff. Like these were fun Easter eggs
Mhm.
to
Yeah, it was
get.
fun to unlock them and all that for sure.
Yeah, so I will give them that because yeah, that's a good thing. We almost ended without talking about the suits,
Yeah,
and
yeah, and
it
that's
was
a
like one
really
of the
big part
best
of it.
things out there.
Oh, well, they just gave you so many options too, and I'll even say I actually liked the suit that was for this game. I honestly, I'll be totally transparent. The one with like the white spider on it, I hated it at first when I saw it in the trailers. I couldn't. I was just I. My first thought was like, why try to like reinvent the wheel here? Like the white looks awful on it. Blah blah blah. I figured there'd be more suits, but I'm gonna be honest. I was kind of just whining and complaining about it. I just was so like not into the look, and I'm like, I hope this isn't the only suit. I hope we get more, blah blah blah. And I knew that there would be. They're not going to make a game and just give you one suit for Christ's sake.
Yeah,
But I hated it. But I'm going to be honest. I ate my words. It grew on me over time. I actually don't mind that suit at all now. I kind of like it.
it's clean. That's the
Yeah,
best
it
way to say
is.
it. It's
It is. And
clean.
once you kind of get over the like, I'm not used to seeing white all over the suit like that. It just works. I don't know. I really started to like it after a while, and to this day I still do.
Yeah, and I guess to kind of close this out, they did replace the face
Mhm.
model on the PS4 version to the PS5 remastered later on, and this is a comparison of it. So you're the one that said this was very jarring to you, and I wanted to hear more of your reason for that.
Well, so I just liked the original design better. It just felt like a more Peter Parker vibe to it. I will say, seeing them side by side by this, I don't like this. I don't feel like it does quite justice to the PS4 version because the graphics look so much better on the remastered one. But when you're playing the game, because I actually, when I just restreamed this game last fall into last winter, I actually played my original PS4 version of it on my PS5 because I actually only ever got the remastered upgrade through like when PS5 first came out, they offered a few games to like, hey, you can have this and play the remastered version. I don't have to buy the game, and this was one of them. And it might have been through the PS Now service, maybe, but this was one of them where I was able to play it through that. But eventually, they took it away from me without my knowledge. Because again, they had the right to. I guess they were giving it to me for free in the first place. But at some point, I lost my access to it through whatever they changed about their policy with it. And so when I went to restream it this past fall, I was looking for the remastered version. I'm like, why do I only have the PS4 version? When I realized I did, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to buy this on PC at the moment for like another full $70 because it wasn't on sale at the time. I'm like, I'm just not going to do it. I'll play the PS4 version. So when I played through it again that time in the regular version, I once again felt like I came out of it the same way, thinking I really like this version of Peter better. And I've played the remastered version. I think I played through it twice with that new look on him. And the other one works for me better. But what was jarring about this look, I should say, when I first saw it, was the first reveal. It made it look like Temu Tom Holland. And I get that it's more based off Yuri's look, I guess. I can't really, I think that's what I was told.
Yeah, Yuri Lowenthal looks more like the remastered one.
Right, so that it fits the mannerisms and the facial expressions, and I get that, I do. But it just came off as like Temu Tom Holland, and it looked so weird. That's what was jarring to me, was like, whoa, dude, what the hell is this weird clone that like missed a couple steps in the cloning process? Because this kind of looks like him, but not really. Is it supposed to look like him? But is this just a coincidence? Like the whole thing on it just was like, no, this doesn't work for me. I will say, again, it's grown on me. Much like that suit, it has grown on me, and I've gotten used to it. So when I eventually replay this game again, because I actually just checked in my game library on PlayStation, I do have access to the remastered version again. So it must be on the PS Now service. So before I end up canceling that service, I'm probably going to do in the near future, I would like to play through it one more time as the remastered before, eventually one day probably purchasing it on sale.
Yeah, I think after the stream, I want to download and start playing this again on PC so I can finally complete the hat trick and just get the 100% of Steam achievements for the Spider-Man game, because I've been just kind of waxing poetic on it. Obviously, this game came out in September. We're almost in September. Fall's in the air. This feels just like that perfect, end of the year game that you just kind of get an itch for.
Absolutely. What's funny you say that, because I believe I started my replay of it through streaming literally last fall, because there's just something. I think you just kind of nailed it. Something about its release date and having the nostalgia for playing it at that point. It has that feel that it's a great game for this time of year.
Yeah, I mean, since it's been a while since I played the first one, it's been 5 years since I played the remaster, and obviously, like I said, this upcoming September, it'll be 8 years that this game's been out, and time is just flying, so quickly that it's just like, well, it might be, it might be fun to go back and just replay this one more time and see if I can like still relive that magic. And like you said, I kind of also want to go back and replay Miles Morales to kind of get a refresher for that story, because even though that game is very short, I kind of just want to do it again, because I think they did a lot more better stuff with Miles's character in that game. I know that people don't like Miles from the comic book, but I think Miles has been a great character in the movies and especially in this game.
I agree.
So I kind of wish. The only complaint I have, but I'll say that for when we get to the Miles thing. But there's like one little gripe I had in that game, but that will be foreshadowing for the next installment that we do of this, and that will eventually be Miles Morales. And of course, we will eventually get to Spider-Man 2. And I have so many thoughts that I can't wait to finally sit down and pontificate into the void. And couldn't think of a better person to do this with. Jay, I do appreciate coming on. I know you and I like to talk about this stuff because you feel like one of the only like grounded people I could talk to that isn't going to start going off on a tangent about like some conspiracy theory.
Well, I appreciate that. That's great praise. Thank you. I like being told you're a very grounded person in the year 2026 is ultimate praise.
Yeah, well, I think it's just ever since like we've become closer friends and stuff. It's just I always like talking to you because it's like I'm so used to people just like kind of. It feels like they all agree, and then you come out of nowhere. It's like, actually.
Well, I appreciate it, and likewise.
Yeah, so I do appreciate your nuanced takes, and your obviously you have a deep understanding and passion to at least what we're talking about. So what we are doing, and I did enjoy this very much.
Yes, same.
So I can't wait for us to continue this series, and we can sit down and talk about Miles Morales. But I want to ask too. with all the new stuff that's coming out on Insomniac's next game, we find out that Wolverine is also taking place in the same universe as the Spider-Man game. And I want to know what you think about that as like closing thoughts about a potential future version of, Spider-Man. Because what we've learned is Doctor Strange is in here. We've learned that Avengers are in here. We now learned that they're going to work the X-Men universe into here somehow. So, what are your thoughts about Wolverine, and what do you think about the future of Insomniac's, possible expansion into the Marvel video game universe or videoverse?
Well, so speaking of nuanced answers, this is definitely one of them. We've talked about this before between private discussions and I think in each other's chats while we've been playing games, especially when I was playing this one, and when we've gone over some of these stuff like the gameplay reveal that we finally got for Wolverine back in June or whenever that was. So we've talked about this a few times. So it's really interesting. So I obviously I love this game. I just spent the last couple hours here talking about how much I love it, and I really really loved the Miles Morales game as well. Spider-Man 2, however, was a disappointment. Just leave it at that because I know one day we'll talk about it at length. But it was a disappointment for me overall, and it really left a bad taste in my mouth with how they just fumbled the ball with how all the momentum and all the good storytelling and things they were doing with the first two games. It just feels like that game dropped the ball on all of it. It's got a bunch of good gameplay mechanics that I think still hold up because I'm playing through it again right now, and it's still fun to play that side of it. It's almost more fun when you feel like you can just skip the story stuff because I just don't care. I know it and I don't care. I didn't like it. So I'm kind of just skipping through a lot of the cinematics and just sticking to the gameplay. So that's making it a better experience playing through it this time around.
Yeah.
But because it left such a bad taste in my mouth, I've been worried about Wolverine. I have. I've been trying to be as optimistic as possible. And this is kind of my time point before we got to the gameplay reveal in June. I was just trying to stay positive on it, but having this bad feeling of like, man, it really feels like they kind of just messed everything up at that last game. I don't know if I trust them the same way I did back then when we first got that Wolverine announcement to actually carry through on a good Wolverine game.
Yeah.
Since then, we've seen a lot of stuff that's pointed me in the other direction. I kind of love what I've seen from the gameplay, to be honest with you. The little kind of tidbits of story that we've gotten in terms of what they're going to try to do seems really interesting. I think the voice acting looks good, or sounds good, rather. The character models all look good. I thought, again, the gameplay I thought looked phenomenal. I remember texting you or messaging you that day as like the PlayStation State of Play was happening. I'm like, holy shit, this gameplay looks awesome.
Yeah.
So I really, really enjoyed everything I'm seeing from it. So I'm back on kind of the hype train, so to speak. I used to kind of say I was cautiously optimistic, but the more and more I see, like we just got a little short story trailer a couple weeks ago, maybe last week. We're seeing, little bits of gameplay with all the different suits that they're going to have at launch and these types of things if you pre-order or whatever. It's just continuing. Everything I'm seeing is just continuing to put me back in the right direction of hype for it. So I'm kind of a little bit past the cautious optimism at this point and kind of just back on board for, dude, I can't wait for this one. I hope it's awesome. If it lets me down, I'll be honest and I'll let you know that it did. I'm not going to act like I liked it just because I was anticipating it.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited for it. I think it looks really good. I like what they're doing. I'm seeing some of the complaints from people, and I don't know. Some of it just feels a little bit like looking for things to complain for. And I don't mean to diminish anybody's, anybody has the right to put critique or criticize whatever they want to. I never like to just say, oh, you're just doing that to be this or to be that, because that diminishes somebody's personal opinion. But when you see a lot of people like, the red trail in the running segment and the chase scene looks awful. And it's like, the red trail, it's just like red particles. What do you mean it looks awful? Like, what are you seeing that I'm not? Like, the complaints just feel so strong for something that feels so insignificant and like not really a big deal that I've struggled to kind of feel like they're totally genuine. And if they are, so be it. You don't have to get my permission or my approval of whether or not your take is genuine. You really don't have to worry about my opinion at all.
Yeah.
So if it is genuine, so be it. And you really think it looks awful. But some of them just seem like they're kind of getting a magnifying glass out to look for things to just kind of complain about. And if
you're trying too hard.
And like, if that's the case, it feels a little bit disingenuous. And I think you might be you might be either eating your words or like being told that you're coping if the game does really well, because you might end up coping if that game does well and you're
It's
still
like
worried
the
about
Odyssey,
the
that's the problem
yeah,
right now.
yes,
You saw the
yes.
same thing with the Odyssey, or
Yep.
like, "Oh, this movie's failing," and it's like, "It's made
It's gonna be
$1 billion."
awful. It's gonna suck. It's this, it's that. This casting is it's gonna ruin it. Blah 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 blah. Guess what?
Yeah.
I love the movie. Thought it was great, and it's on its way to like 1.4 billion. I think it just passed 1.3. So you might be coping a little bit on that one.
It
Sorry.
it comes down to just what I always say with people, I'm like, "Look, you can dislike popular things, that doesn't matter at the end of the day," you know? It's
No,
like
it doesn't. It really doesn't.
yeah,
And that's the
it's
thing. So, but in
yeah.
terms of that side of it, that's kind of how I feel on that. I'm excited for it, and I'm not really getting the complaints. I don't know what the people complaining are seeing that I'm not, but so be it. That's their opinion. But
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. And in terms of what it opens up for, like a Marvel gaming universe, I mean, all day, open that thing as big as you can,
Mhm.
as wide as you can, and just hit me with every superhero game. You want to do a Ghost Rider game? Give it to me. You want to do
Oh,
Captain
yes.
America? Let's see it. Hawkeye, Hulk, anybody. I mean, do anything. Do literally anything. Give me a full X-Men game. Would love it. Give me a modern version of an X-Men Legends game, or that style. I would love it. Do whatever the hell you want. Just make it good. That's my only ask. Is just make it good.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that one, especially because we haven't had a Ghost Rider game since the PS2, alright?
Oh, I would love a Ghost Rider game. Oh, that would be
Ghost Rider would be
awesome.
so
That'd be
awesome,
awesome. A new
especially if you
Punisher game. Hey, Punisher is pretty hot
Ooh.
right now in terms of, having just kind of got a revival with the MCU. He's been in the
Mhm.
Daredevil show. He got his own little special. Just
Good
showed up in
actor.
Spider-Man: Brand New Day. Yeah, absolutely. I love John Bernthal. I think he's phenomenal. I love his take
Mhm.
on the Punisher. I think it's really good. They've even now figured out. I don't know if you've seen the new Spider-Man yet, so I won't spoil anything. But
No.
they have figured out how to take his rated R Punisher and fit him into something that's PG-13. So like now you can kind of move him between these projects and these IPs to make them work with one or the other. It doesn't have to be as full of gore and swearing as he is when he's on the Daredevil show and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So yeah, do
exactly.
do something with him. He's super popular again right now. I mean, again, do whatever. Tons and tons of heroes to work for, tons of different groups. You could do the Defenders. It doesn't have to just be the X-Men or the Avengers. Do the Defenders. Do whatever. Do a
Oh, an Iron
Blade.
Fist
Do
game would be
anything.
good, They are working on a Blade game.
Oh, that's what. Well, I
They
did hear
said
that. I've
they
been hearing
haven't
rumors. Is that actually continuing? Like, is that actually in progress, or is that halted a bit? Because I have heard rumors that, and maybe it's just people speculating. I don't really. This is why I don't do videos on rumors, because I don't like to put stuff out there
so
that's just speculation. But I thought it had been kind of like in limbo a bit from what I had heard.
so when I cover the news on this channel, if you're all new here, I do like a once a week recap show,
Mhm.
and it was part of the, Arcane Leon, which is the
Right,
French-based,
right. Yep.
studio. They're the ones that are going to be doing it, and right now they're in a negotiation, and there's no real clear explanation of what's going on. I don't think they wanna give up on the Blade game yet,
Mhm.
is what we're feeling, but it does feel like, Microsoft either wants to divest from them because they have to go through some French regulations first,
Mhm.
or currently right now the head of the studio is the, Machine Games, head,
Mhm.
and either there's also the other option where they might just merge them into Machine Games, and they will dissolve the studio, but they'll keep them as a support studio for Machine Games. So they'll be
Interesting.
like a satellite of Machine Games.
Mhm.
I don't know,
Mhm.
because I have no inside sources at all. I'm just some jack off online giving his opinion.
Aren't
But
we all?
yeah, so this is just me with, what the information has been given out there and what the possible scenarios and clues have
Mhm.
been, so
Well, I do hope that doesn't fall by the wayside, because I really like that little teaser trailer they did. I like the art design in it. I thought it was a
mhm,
cool look. I think Blade's an awesome character, and not
perfect
for
video game
nothing,
character.
poor Blade just keeps getting stuck on the. I don't even know. I don't even know if I want to say square one at the starting line. I don't know where, because the movie's been halted over at the MCU too. That thing is, I think, done. It's been casted for a while, but it's been in development hell. And I think at this point they've just kind of given up on making it with the actor they were going to, and I think they're just gonna possibly try again down the road. Now it seems like games in trouble and also in development hell, or even is it even in development yet? I don't really know where it is in its stage. So it just seems like Blade can't get off the ground lately. And it's like, damn, man, in theory, an easy character to do so much cool stuff with. And I don't know
Yes.
how they're struggling to get movies and video games made with this character. But for the love of God, I mean, all we've gotten out of him lately is he's in Marvel Rivals. I think he was an addition like last year at some point. Like that's the only Blade gameplay or Blade anything you have right now. So give us more, please.
Midnight Suns, he's also in there as a
Oh, that's right. He is
character.
in Midnight Suns, which I'll say Midnight Suns gameplay, fun. Midnight Suns story, dialogue, and cinematics, grind to get through.
And
Brutal to get through.
he was also included as one of the base fighters in Marvel Tokan as well.
Oh, that's right. I haven't actually even looked too much at that game yet, but maybe
Don't worry,
someday
no
on
one else
sale.
has.
That's what I saw. I saw on Discord. I think AC might have shared that. I'm like, oh yeah, that's not doing too hot, huh?
Under
I'm gonna be
3,000
honest.
sales in Japan. Yikes.
Oh God, that's awful. Yeah, I'll be honest. Even from the first trailer I saw, I wasn't super interested in it, and that's kind of I do like fighting game. I am a total fighting game casual.
Yeah.
I can like basically only play the story modes on fighting games because if I even try to get online for one, I'm juggled like it's a goddamn circus. I'm just juggled in the air. I never touch the ground. I can never lay a hit. I cannot compete with the people who play those games. God bless you guys. You're friggin' fantastic at them, and I'm not even in your league. So outside of the story, like I don't do too much with fighting games. But that's why I've always liked like Mortal Kombat and Injustice because you get those towers that you can do, like kind of, I think in Injustice it was the multiverse where you just fight, the AI and all that and unlock certain things and gear and all that. So it gives me a way to kind of continue to play fighting games beyond just the story.
Yeah.
But so I like them in that regard, total casual. But if it's got a good IP attached to it, I'll get it. Like I plan on getting Avatar Legends, the fighting game, just because I'm an Avatar fan. I know I'm going to get my ass kicked on that game. But, whatever. I'll play through the story and I'll see what they add for other kind of single player experiences as time goes on. But Marvel Token, or Tokon, however you pronounce it, it just never got me excited. Even the first trailer, I think for me, it's the suits. They're too much of a departure from what the suits should look like in traditional, superhero history.
Yeah.
And that was even an issue for me with Marvel Rivals at first, because it's almost like there's just like a big Eastern influence on them in terms of like the design and armors.
Well,
and
they are anime inspired. Yeah.
And I got nothing wrong with that style of art. It just, I like that stuff when it's more with anime and things like that. I don't love the crossover with it into superhero stuff. And maybe that's just the superhero purist in me. I just like the suits to look how I know they should look, or I think they should look, I should say. So that's just a taste thing. It's not my taste. I wouldn't say they're necessarily bad. It's just not my taste.
No, I get you.
So that's where I think that's something that gives me a big disconnect, or gave me a disconnect with that trailer for Marvel Tokon when I first saw it. And I just never got around to being like, oh, maybe I can put that past, get past that and still enjoy the gameplay. Just not interested. And unfortunately, it sounds like you said, nobody else is either.
Yeah, unfortunately, it is. It's one of those things right now. But because you said that art style wasn't your favorite, it made me think of this. So this is currently our buddy, Mr. Angry Canadian, right now reacting to you.
You're my new best friend.
Or now he's having that reaction. Like, what do you mean you don't like that art style?
I know. I hope he's not listening right now.
He will later, and I hope he gets to this part. And
Sorry, AC. I just got to be honest. You can call me many things, but you can't call me a liar.
Honesty is the best policy, they say. It's the old saying is I'd rather have a knife in the face than one in the back.
Hey, ain't that the truth? At least you can see it coming.
Exactly. So with that being said, this was a great episode, man. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun.
Same, man. Same. Thank you for having me.
I love this game, and I love talking to my friends about who also enjoy this game. So I can't wait for us to do part 2 and part 3 in the future. And right now, if you got anything to say, you got anything upcoming? I know you just put out a new reaction video to the new Black Myth trailer.
Mm-hmm. Well, first off, I'd like to say likewise to everything you just said. I love this game, love talking to you, love talking to all these guys we've become friends with in this little corner of the internet. been a
Mhm.
lot of fun getting to just chat video games with people who just want to chat video games and don't want to chat nonsense.
Right.
It's been refreshing, incredibly refreshing, and I thank all you guys for that. But also specifically, thank you for having me on for this show and all the ones we've done. It's always a blast. And then in terms of what I've got going on my channel, a couple recent videos out. One about if you've seen the Odyssey, if you haven't seen it yet, I did do a review on that. That's up there to check out. Some Marvel stuff too. There was a Doomsday trailer that is kind of we're seeing a little bit more of that. So I did a little video on that. Spider-Man review, as well as, like you said, most recently was just last night. I worked on a just kind of a general take video on Black Myth. And forgive me if I'm saying this wrong. I even looked it up on AI to see if I could pronounce it right. I believe it's Black Myth Zhang Kui. I could be saying that wrong. If I am, I think so. If I'm saying it wrong, blame AI. Gemini told me that that's how you pronounced it, so I'm going with that. I'm a huge fan of the Black Myth Wukong game. It was my game of the year that year. So to see that Game Science is working on it, I kind of knew they were. I actually mentioned this in the video. I kind of knew that they were because I thought I had heard it, but it's been just such a crazy year in gaming with so many good games that have already come out, so many that are still about to come out, plus the ever-looming release of GTA 6, which is going to just be an eclipse in the world of gaming. It's going to overshadow everything. It's just been something that kind of I forgot about and slipped out of my memory that they were working on this sequel. So to get that gameplay drop, which to me was totally out of nowhere, I had no idea they were dropping that. It feels like I just woke up that morning and it was like already 6 or 7 hours old at that point. So I was kind of catching up like, whoa, this came out when? Catching it that morning on my news feed was awesome. I loved it. Everything I saw from it. It looks like more of the same, but also improvements on the same, which I think is key in building a franchise. You got to have that familiarity with it to, still feel like what came before it, but also continue to build on it, polish it, build on it, introduce new ideas, new concepts, all that. And it looks like it might try to do that. So, did a whole video on it where I basically say that plus some other stuff. So check that out if you're interested.
Yes, and link to his channels in the description of this video. Just go down in the description. His name is highlighted there. Click on it. Go subscribe to his channel if you haven't. What are you doing? What are you waiting for? Get it done right now. What are you doing? As for us, we will be back next week. We currently are working on some videos this weekend. We currently have 4 of them in the pipeline and maybe a couple more because I've been kind of thinking about trying to do a little like a daily video, it feels like, just to cover some of these small stuff. But we'll see. Plate's pretty loaded with part-time job, full-time job, and of course being a husband. So much to do, so many hats to wear. But if you haven't already, if you're new here, please leave it a like and subscribe. And if you like what you've seen, check out a couple of my other videos. We currently have 2 PlayStation 3 guide videos talking about what you should pick up both physically and digitally from the PlayStation Network closing shop. And we are currently working on part 3. So if you want to go check those out as well as any other older things that we've posted on here, we do another show called Legacy Loading, where we watch video game documentaries, as well as we have other shows dedicated like this, where we talk about retrospectives and many more fun things as well in the future. Just go check them out. Or if not, just like, hey, at least it was fun that you stopped by and visited us and you said hi. We appreciate everyone here, and all voices are welcome. Even if you want a schizo post in the chat, we will acknowledge that you're schizo posting, but we might not agree with you. So with that being said, everyone have yourself a very wonderful weekend. Enjoy some football. It's preseason if you want to watch for an underdog story, or just go enjoy the dying days of summer because we don't have that many left before the cold winter sets in. Unless you live in Florida, California, Hawaii, or one of those other beautiful states. I'm jealous of you and I hate you for living in places because I live in Illinois and it sucks for a very long time every year. With that being said, my name is Carl. This is Jay, and we will see you all on the flip side.